I don't know what you know about politics, but people will definitely smear you. And so one of the smears they came up with was Reed was selling meth to 2 to 12-year-olds out of the back of an ice cream truck.
Some little tweaker
Like
4-year-olds running
you're
out.
You're a predator and a drug
Mom,
dealer.
I need a dime bag.
My brother grabbed the gun off the hood of the car, shot the guy in the stomach, and then bailed out. What do you mean shots firing? Like, there was a law enforcement situation? He's like, nah, bro, your brother was out the passenger side of my car, like shooting at his ops. And Chaos's story is he was doing maybe like 9 or 12 years, and he had gotten away with this crime. He blew apart the guy who molested his niece at the bar one night with a 12 gauge, and he got away with it. And I started collecting them. I mean, on the streets, you end up with a lot of guns. People were like, hey, do you want this shotgun for a pointed? Like, sure, okay. So I would have sometimes like 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 guns in this van. 30 minutes later, the task force shows up.
No.
Yeah.
I think our record longest episode was just under 5 hours.
I saw you had some long ones.
Yep.
You should have just said Jake Paul the whole time. I didn't realize Mr. Beast had a video doing that.
Yeah, that's how he got famous. He would just sit there and just like do things a million times.
100,000 times. Yeah, it's ridiculous.
I don't know if that would work anymore, though. I feel like that was just some like old internet magic, you know?
I think it can. I think that part of that's actually how I saw some success. It wasn't necessarily intentional, like I'm going to do this ridiculous thing to go viral, but I was finding creative ways to draw attention to things I cared about.
Yep.
Running in a shark costume to raise money for suicide prevention, trying to do the world's most jumping jacks in 24 hours. So yeah, it's got its own appeal. I mean, part of social media and YouTube branding is like, how do you draw people in? What's the hook? And then you got to deliver the value on the other side of that. I was going to ask you, because I've tried to do some research on you and figure out who you are and how you got to where you are. But how did you build your channel? Like, who are we talking to today?
I mean, I built my channel through all just talking about my drug addiction when I was younger. When I was like 15, I mean, I've been making YouTube videos for years. When I was a kid, I used to like post my Call of Duty videos on YouTube just for fun. And one day I had like run out of ideas for Call of Duty videos, but I wanted to keep making YouTube videos. I just didn't know what to do because I didn't play the game that much anymore because I was busy going out and like getting drunk and high with my friends for the first time. I was, a young kid. And I was like, what if I just talked about that for a video? Like, what if I told the internet about my first time smoking? And that was the first time I ever told a story about my drug use on the internet. And it was the first video I ever posted to get 1,000 views. And I was like, yo, I'm onto something. Like, this is it. 1,000 views back in, I think it was 2014 when I shared that. 1,000 views was insane to me. It was like, holy fuck. So I kept telling these stories about my drug use while I was still like in active addiction. Like a lot of my old videos, you can sit down and listen, and I'm like very obviously high on cocaine, or like very obviously I tripped on acid in quite a few of them. Like there's a lot of, I just actively documented everything I was doing. And then eventually I got sober and kind of kept documenting the stuff that I never talked about. Then, when after I got clean, which is over 4 years ago now, after I got clean, it was more of like a documenting all the stuff that I didn't want to talk about when I was using because I was like ashamed of it, So that's how I built all this. That's the only reason the podcast exists. That's the only reason this is happening. It's all just from talking about my drug use history when I was a kid, pretty much.
So how do you, if at all, do you engage with your audience? And out of the like 1,000 people who viewed that first video, why do you think they were there? What would the interest have been, and what do you think they were getting from the video content?
I mean, back then it was a very different thing. I mean, when I look back at my older videos, they were horrible objectively. I mean, they were like 5 minutes long. I was talking really fast. I was very clearly geeked out of my mind. And like, it was just an objectively horrible video. But I think back then I was doing something that not many people were doing on YouTube. Drugs were like a very niche thing on the internet. Like no one, even still today, like, you can't just like post a picture of your bag of weed on Instagram. They'll delete it. You can't post a picture of a line of blood on Instagram. That they'll delete it, So it is still a taboo kind of thing to talk about. But then it was really like on YouTube, especially, that didn't exist. YouTube was like people like with camcorders, like, pointing it at zoo animals and shit back then, and like basic content. It wasn't like that. So I think it was, I had a lot of people who were in my comments and like, oh, dude, like I've done this before too. Like, here's my experience. And I get a lot of comments of people sharing their stories like I was, just they type it out instead of me, telling it on the video. And that I think kind of brought a lot of people A lot of people together.
Yeah, I've seen that. After I did the Ian Bick and the Matt Cox interviews last year, you seen the comments. It really goes back to 2020 after I came home from prison,
Yep.
and I was rebuilding my Facebook account. Like I got locked out of Google. I didn't have a Gmail anymore. I didn't have a Facebook account. So here I am, like going through my high school friends and my family members, adding them on Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually I made this post. And I was like, hey guys, just want to let you guys know that I'm home from prison now. I'm a different person. Like, I'm not using drugs anymore. I've been sober for 2 years. And I wanted to thank you guys for your patience, your understanding. I want to, apologize for you guys for the hurt that I caused. And, know that I also still live with this mental illness. I still have this mental illness. This is why I ended up homeless and in the streets for so long. And I'm doing my best to take care of that too. And the response, it was really interesting. Like I would have people direct message me privately and say, hey, just want to tell you, I'm really proud of you. Also, I've been struggling too. I'm hoping that I can put it down eventually, et cetera, et cetera. And my mentor, back when he came to visit me in prison, he always told me, he's like, you got a purpose for your life. You're called to be a witness. You're called to share your story. Like, I didn't believe him, but then here we are, like on Facebook a couple years later, and it surely was the truth. And here we are 5 years later, and on this platform talking to people who, whether they're struggling or have struggled in the past, people deserve to feel seen and heard and recognized for their humanity, not imperfection, but sometimes we do have a line of dope sitting in front of us. And do we deserve to be ostracized and criticized and punished for that? Or can somebody just say like, it's all right. Like maybe you won't get there today. Maybe you won't get there tomorrow. Some people will never get there, whether it was, my brother or my mom or my best friend, they didn't make it. But some people do, like you and I, we make it, and so many people are going to make it. And I think they need voices of just grounded in reality of what people deal with, to say that it's possible and it's okay that you struggle.
Yep.
What led you to using drugs? Was it like experimentation or?
It's just fun, dude. I mean, I was just a stupid teenager, I was like 15, 14 with my friends, just getting high, hanging out with the wrong group of kids. And then eventually it became a thing of like, it's the only thing I wanted to do. It was a thing like when I was younger, I've had ADHD my whole life, so I've always had a hard time focusing. Before I ever did drugs or anything, I had a fat Adderall script, so I was already like wired the fuck up. I was ready to go, dude. Like I was already my Adderall script. So I'm gonna tell you this dose, and you're gonna be disgusted, dude, because it's pretty bad. So I was like 14 years old. I got this prescription actually when I was 13. I got this exact dose, and then I carried it all the way through high school. And per day I was prescribed 3 pills. In the morning, I would take a 30 milligram extended.
Yeah.
And then I would take with me in a little bag to school another 20 milligram instant to take like after lunch. So I'd stay focused for the rest of the day. And then I'd get home and I was supposed to take another 20 milligram instant to do my homework that day.
For bedtime.
Yeah. Just to, go to sleep, have fun, fall asleep tonight. And I was supposed to like, eat my 3 meals a day in between that somehow. So I'm prescribed fucking 70 milligrams a day of Adderall. And I'd never been high on something before. So I'm wired the fuck up every day. But I didn't like how it made me feel. Like it worked objectively. Like I was able to focus and like it was great, but I didn't like how it made me feel. And then when I started like getting drunk and smoking weed, it's not that it made me focus, but like it made my brain kind of shut up. And I was like, oh, this is great. Like this is awesome. So I loved it immediately. Yeah. I got very into drugs.
It's interesting. My best friend, Valley, who passed away, it was just his birthday on December 23rd. He was 22 when he died, so it's been over 10 years now. He was prescribed Adderall. And I think part of that really did mess with his brain when he was younger because you get used to having that stimulant in your brain. When he didn't have it, I could tell.
Yeah.
He was just more mellow and calm and kind of checked out when he had his medicine. He was like, all right, we can go play tennis or whatever. It was so funny. My dad, he used to buy my cigarettes and we'd buy weed together and he'd get my alcohol for me. But also when Valley wouldn't take his Adderall, we would give it to Dad for like $5. So we'd be trading my buddy's Adderall for cigarettes back in the day. But I can definitely tell the impact that it had on him growing up with stimulants in his system. And then for me, it was the converse of that. Mom used cocaine since she was 16. I didn't find stimulants until I was a late teenager. I didn't find cocaine until I was 21. It was like my 21st birthday. I did coke with my mom for the first time.
An exciting 21st birthday.
Wasn't it? Like she had just came home from the hospital. I was taking care of her. She'd broken her neck. She was paralyzed in the hospital. And so I'm in there and God bless him. My stepdad was bringing her bags of dope while she was in the hospital. And, my sister was probably helping her get a bump in the bathroom. My mom was like, help me with a bump. I'm like, I can't help you with a bump of cocaine. You're in the hospital. You're paralyzed right now. So anyways, we ended up back at an apartment. And I'm taking care of her. And it was my birthday. And I had been, I'd seen her do drugs a lot of my life. And I said, I want to do some coke, Mom. Come on,
Mhm.
let me get some of that. We're already snorting oxys off the counter and drinking together. Why not the coke? So she finally gets mad and she gives me the bag. And there's like half a straw sitting in there. And I'm looking at this bag, and I just put my nose in it and ripped the whole bag. I had no
Oh.
idea. And she's like, "What'd you do with that?" I'm like, "What do you mean? What did I do? You gave me the bag with the straw and you said take a bump. I did it all." She said, "What do you mean you did it all?" I'm like, yeah, she was so mad. But that was my first experience with cocaine, and I was in bliss. It calmed me down. It relaxed me. It made me feel like who I actually was.
Yeah.
Fast forward, it was 3 years later. I ended up coming back from Nashville. I had been kind of strung out down there on coke, and I was drinking a lot of liquor.
Mhm.
And in West Virginia, we don't really have a ton of cocaine, at least not on the scene I was in. And I was trying to put my life back together anyways. Well, there's this girl at the gas station, and she's like, I asked her what she was doing for New Year's. And she said, "What are you doing tonight?" And so we went back to the camper. We're hanging out, and she pulls out a bag of meth. And I'm like, "Get
Oh,
that shit!" I'm
boy.
like, "Get that shit out of here!" I was like, "My brother's strung out on that right now. Like, I don't want that in my camper, et cetera, et cetera." She's like, "Well, you can snort it, right?" And we'd already been talking about drugs. And I'm like, "Really?" I put it up my nose, and down the rabbit hole I went. And man, if cocaine was bliss, I mean, this was ecstasy. It was incredible. I don't know if have you ever done meth?
No, thank God.
And I hate to say that it's like the best thing in the world, but like as far as a drug goes, it's amazing. I mean,
People don't do drugs because they suck. I mean, they
no, people
don't.
pay top dollar to feel that good, and that's why
Yeah.
part of me loves having a mental illness diagnosis because I'm wired already. Like, I can tap into that euphoria a lot of times, like, if I don't take medication, so I don't need the drugs actually. But there
Uh-huh.
was something about taking a stimulant that made me feel more like who I actually am. It was really hard for me
Mm.
to give it up over time because I still, deal with, like, heavy emotions. I still deal with a lot of anxiety. I have the ADHD temperament,
Mhm.
and stimulants help with that. But to your point, I don't like who it makes me.
Yep.
So, yeah, we just white knuckle it sober, I guess.
You do some shitty things off stimulants.
If you take them for long enough, too.
Yep.
Since I've been home, I haven't even told anybody this really. I tried stimulants a couple times, Vyvanse, because I've worked with my psychiatrist on every other
I
option.
hate Vyvanse so much.
Do you really?
I do,
It worked
yeah.
way better than Adderall. Adderall has me
Really?
feeling cringy and jolly. Yeah, I feel like I'm
Vyvanse does that to me too.
Does it?
Yeah, but
Vyvanse is
it's like a Adderall makes me like physically uncomfortable. Vyvanse makes me tweak mentally. Like I'm sitting there like I almost get paranoid on Vyvanse.
rolling into the clouds.
I
Like
wish,
I
dude.
become a magical creator.
I fucking wish.
I feel so
dude.
good on Vyvanse, but for a period of time, and then I wake up in the morning and it's dark,
Mhm.
and I'm starting to get grumpy at 2 in the afternoon, and now I'm irritable and mean, and I know that I'm high. When I take
Yep.
the pill, I feel better. I feel good. It wears off. I'm no longer, and so I don't like that feeling. I like just feeling natural. It's been working for me. If I want to feel some kind of high, like I'll go work out.
Yep.
I'll do something good for somebody. I'll volunteer and help somebody. That tends to, be a good release of endorphins, a more healthy, sustainable one. Or go jump in a cold plunge or something crazy. Or hop on a scooter. That's what I love about LA. You got the scooters and the whips.
This is
around
the
here.
perfect place, dude.
There's a lot of adventure here.
There's a lot of natural highs you can get out here.
Yes. Yeah, you don't have to put dope up your nose, thankfully.
So one of the things I gather out of what you just told me is it sounds like drug use runs in the family.
Yeah. Born and bred. That's a crazy thing to say, isn't it?
I mean, you described your sister using, your brother using, your mom using. I heard your dad using. Is that your whole like nuclear family? Like your whole close? Is there anyone that doesn't use outside of like uncles and that kind of stuff?
The immediate family, no. I was the last immediate family member
Wow.
to start using drugs at age 13. So mom started doing
That
cocaine at
young and you were the
16.
last.
13, and I was the last.
Wow.
So I joined the culture at 13. And I can tell you honestly, I mean, it's speculative and theoretical because it didn't work out this way, but I'd like to think that I never wanted to use them in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
Some people come up in families where they don't grow up around drugs and they find them anyways. So I
Yep.
get people's paths are different, but I don't ever feel like I want to wake up and use drugs today. It's just mom and dad have been fighting for so long, and that was in part because of her cocaine addiction. Dad used drugs recreationally since he was probably late teen, early 20s.
Mm-hmm.
Sister ended up smoking weed and pills and stuff. And then my brother ended up selling weed. And so he's across the hallway from me, and he's, running packs outside to the brothers. And I finally decided that I wanted to try what everybody else was doing. I remember we were sitting in the Jeep one day, and it was me and my mom and my grandma and my brother, and everybody's smoking cigarettes. And I've got exercise-induced asthma. Come to find out, it's probably just because of all the secondhand smoke.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, could you please roll down the window so I can breathe? And it just felt like an awful feeling. Like that's not how, it's supposed to be when you're 12 or 13. But yeah, it definitely, to answer your question, runs in the family.
That first time you got high when you were 13, what was that like?
It was embarrassing. I felt a little bit demoralized, like I wasn't supposed to be doing it.
Mhm.
It didn't seem like it was the right thing to do. I felt some shame that this is what me and my brother's relationship was at that age. I felt shame that it was okay in the household. Like mom didn't endorse me doing that with him. Like she would have told me, no, you're not allowed to smoke
Yep.
cigarettes or weed. But it still was happening upstairs. So it just felt wrong, frankly.
I mean, it sounds like something you kinda couldn't get away from in that household.
And I hear stories from people that grew up in households where it was fueled by drug addiction and mental illness that don't
Mhm.
end up using drugs. And I really admire and respect those people. I
Yeah.
don't know how they do it.
Sounds
You
impossible.
need to get somebody on the show that grew up around addiction, heavily in addiction, that didn't end up using drugs and figure out what their secret was.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't strong enough to do that.
We need to crack that code.
Need that code. But yeah, it was inescapable, definitely. And when I went to prison, I was 24, so 10 years later, that was the distance and the separation I needed to get away from it. And in that
Mhm.
moment, I knew drugs had caused so many of the problems in my life that I said, if I never use drugs again, maybe I'll have a chance at a life. And I have. I've had an
Yep.
amazing life in the past 5 years, putting that energy in other places other than up my nose or in my lungs or down my throat. But, I was fortunate to have a mentor who didn't use drugs. He's a nonprofit director, leads a youth organization who believed in me, saw me. And despite me struggling, he saw my potential and,
Mhm.
he invested in me and showed up. He was the only person to visit me while I was in prison. That made a difference. And I don't know what kind of support you have in your life, but if I didn't have him in my life, I wouldn't have got sober. I wouldn't have had a reason to. I just,
Yep.
off myself or go back to selling drugs.
Yep.
So I surely wouldn't be here if it wasn't for him. And that's something to celebrate. That's why, with 1 billion hugs, one of the reasons I founded the movement is so we can ensure, especially in Appalachia to start, that every young person has a loving, caring, supportive adult that shows up for them, encourages them, and doesn't give up on them. Because I truly believe if young people have that, then the world will be a better place. I'm not saying like nobody's ever going to use drugs again. I think the likelihood just really goes down. The quality of life goes up when we lean into connection.
I like that. What is 1 billion hugs?
So
You brought shirts for everybody here. You seem very excited about it.
I'm super excited. Yeah, we launched this past year. It's a global movement. We're a
Uh-huh.
social impact brand. We're on a mission to get 1 billion people hugging. So
Mm.
yeah, create 1 billion moments of love, compassion, kindness.
A whole lot of people.
It's a whole lot of people. 1 in 7 are going to be touched by this at least. And we're just trying to create a more connected world. Virtually we're more connected than ever, but in person we're so disconnected. And I really believe that lack of connection is attributing to suicide and substance use rates rising.
Yeah.
When I ran for office back in 2024 in West Virginia, some of the statistics I used to tell the stories I was campaigning is 50% of our young people are living with their grandfamilies. So where are the parents?
Mhm.
Dead, incarcerated, or in rehab potentially. 30 or 50% of kids have reported feeling hopeless. 30% of kids have considered taking their lives, and like 10% of them have attempted to. 1 in 10 children in middle school or high school have tried to end their life.
It's a crazy stat.
To me, it's unacceptable.
Yeah.
I don't think that it should be that way. And so I've asked myself, like, what can I do to make a difference in that arena? And I've tried, I've started my business in 2022 doing motivational speaking and coaching and consulting with different organizations that help young people and communities in general. And entrepreneurship is the pathway. I mean, I've learned that. And it's like, what kind of product or service can I provide that engages each individual in a meaningful way that improves their life and reduces these social challenges? And I think something as simple as a free hugs t-shirt.
Mhm.
I saw my first one in Warped Tour back in 2010 when I was 17, and it stood out to me. I was like, that's a really cool idea. So now you're hugging a stranger, you're sharing that moment of connection. 15 years later, a friend got me a free hugs t-shirt for my 30th birthday, and I still struggle with suicidal ideation. It's like a part of the way my brain works.
Mhm.
So I was feeling like shit for a couple of days, not wanting to do anything. I get out of bed finally, put on, I didn't even realize I had the shirt on, free hugs t-shirt, go to the local biscuit joint, Tudor's Biscuit World, love that place.
Mhm.
And I'm standing in line, and this woman behind the counter, she's like jumping up and down and pointing in her chest. What is she doing? Oh, wait, she wanted a hug. So I'm like, yeah, come on. She comes around, gives me this big old hug, and she squeezes me. And she says, you don't know how bad I needed that. And I said, I needed it too. And so I sat down at the table, and this couple who were in their 70s, they said, we really appreciate you wearing that shirt. So in that moment, I knew that despite me feeling suicidal, disconnected, hopeless, just by showing up as me with the free hug shirt on, like, I can change the world in a meaningful way. Who knows what that woman was going through?
Yep.
Who knows what that couple was going through? Maybe they just lost their son. Maybe they just lost their nephew. Maybe they struggle personally. Can wearing a shirt really make a difference? Absolutely, it can. So why not start a movement, a global movement, a brand that promotes positivity, love, connection, and has an overall mission to create a more connected world, so we can drive down suicide and we can drive down substance use. So that's what we're about.
It's a dope concept.
I'm
I
excited
like it.
about it, man.
I can tell. I can tell. So one of the things you had mentioned earlier when we were talking about when you first got high at 13 is it sounds like to me you had pretty much 11 years of uninterrupted drug use all the way until going to prison at 24, yeah?
Well,
Was there any interruptions?
Yeah, if we get into the details, there's a lot of things. There were some attempts at sobriety.
Okay.
There was some desire a couple times. My mentor, the Lifeline, his name's David King.
Okay.
When I first got hospitalized, I was 19, and so I dropped out of college. My buddy Valley that I told you about, who's passed away, I called him, and I'd been at Wesleyan for like 2 months.
Mhm.
I said, Valley, come and get me. This place isn't for me. I just want to get high. Like, bring the blunts, bring me some cigs, come and get me. And he comes and gets me, and we're smoking and roasting, and he's taking me back. And eventually I end up at my mentor's because I didn't have a place to stay.
Mhm.
And he said, it's fine that you dropped out of college, but what are you going to do? I said, let me figure it out. So went to the room. It took me a week. I was like, I'm going to be a deckhand, work on the river. I'm going to work on the train. So there's this program where you can get certified as a deckhand. So I was toting around these big ratchets and these steel lines and learning how to tie, knots in these lines in the river. And I got that job, and it was super cool for a couple months. But on my 10 days off where I had thousands of dollars, I went to the bar, got taken home by this chick, spent some days with her. She's like, don't go back to the river. I said, okay. And now I'm partying it up. Yeah. And, we ended up, that house got raided. Her brother was on probation. I didn't know it. And he had that address listed. We wake up one morning. We've been ripping bongs and bowls all morning, smoke clouds in the living room. There's not even the probation officer. We're like, oh shit. And so she goes and answers the door and comes back in. She's like, that's Danny's fucking probation officer. I'm like, what do you mean? What's he coming here for? He's got this address listed. We're like, oh shit. And then going back to roast and stuff. 30 minutes later, the task force shows up.
No.
Yeah. And
What could he have been on probation for?
I have no idea.
Oh my God.
Well, the PO officer was probably mad because he smelled all the weed in there.
Yeah.
And so they came, and she got arrested because it was her house. And that didn't end well. But anyways, yeah, it wasn't too long after that I ended up homeless and finally ended up in a hospital for 2 weeks because I got diagnosed with manic depressive. I was just Zulu'd out of my mind, hallucinating, delusional, thinking I was the Princess Zion, the Messiah. And it was after I got out of the hospital that I went back to stay with my mentor. And one of the conditions to stay with him was that I did what the doctor said regarding my mental illness and that I didn't use drugs and drink. And so I did my best at that. But, I was an addict and I was an alcoholic. And so I would walk over to the gas station, get little bootleggers or ice houses, and I'd smash them in my room at night on top of all the psych meds I was taking. He didn't know about it. He still doesn't know about it.
Alcohol doesn't mix well with psych meds.
No, dude, I put on so much weight. I felt so bad. I was so socially inept because I was just blackout all the time. I would sleep 16 hours a day and not leave the room and just sit in a chair and watch TV until it was time for him to go to bed at 8 p.m. Then I'd walk to the store and just get blasted. But there were periods, from 19 to 24 where I tried to lean in that relationship with him. And then I realized I am too fucked up to get sober. I remember one time I was calling my best friend. I was at David's house and I was like, man, almost crying because I was strung out on meth at the time. I said, I came here. I want to get sober. I'm tired of doing this. I know that they're watching me. I've been selling dope for a while. I don't want to go to prison, and I want to get sober, but I can't stay here. The addiction's calling me back. Why is it that I can never get clean? He said, there's something to be said about familiarity. He said, you've grown up this way your entire life. You're surrounded by people. He said, it's what you're used to. It's not that you're a bad person. It's not that you don't want to. It's just that you aren't programmed to do that yet. That's a big hurdle. That's why most people don't get clean.
Yep.
Thankfully, going to prison changed that for me. If I hadn't had that, though, I doubt I would have got clean, man. I'd probably be dead, most likely.
I mean, it sounds like this mentor kind of saved your life.
Oh, 100% absolutely saved my life. No doubt about it. I mean, dude, you asked me about the ice cream truck, which was so funny. Because when I was running for city council in Belpre back in 2021, I came up from prison, got super involved in the community, ran for city council as a write-in. And so I was open about my background. It's public knowledge that, I got convicted of felonies and been to prison. And I talk about my mental illness and struggle with suicide and stuff. Well, I don't know what you know about politics, but people will definitely smear you
Oh yeah.
And so one of the smears they came up with was Reed was selling meth to 2 to 12-year-olds out of the back of an ice cream truck.
To 2 to 12-year-olds?
2 to 12-year-olds. They targeted in like I had an age range, like a
Yeah,
preference.
Some little tweaker
It's like
4-year-olds running
you're a
out.
predator and a drug
Mom,
dealer.
I need a dime bag.
Get the ice cream. Oh my gosh. Yeah, it was embarrassing. Trying to remember, why did we even bring up the ice cream truck though? What were we?
Well, I had texted you last night because as I was, kind of doing my research for this episode, you had sent me those articles about you, and one of the ones I had found online, I think it was from like the Marietta Times, mentioned you selling meth out of an ice cream truck, and I texted you and I was like, "Do you have a picture of that ice cream truck? Because I would love to see it."
Yeah. Unfortunately, I don't.
Turns out there was no ice cream truck.
The
It was a smear
prosecutors
campaign.
got a great imagination. I just got my record sealed.
Oh, nice.
Under that judge's case just a couple months ago on my birthday. So really glad to have
Congratulations.
that.
What a
Thank
gift.
you. Yeah, it's huge. But there's a question before we brought up the ice cream truck. We were going somewhere here.
Oh,
I was using that as an analogy.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, it's okay. It's what the drugs do.
It's
too much Adderall.
Um,
You said that there are no interruptions. Then I was talking about how prison was so good to me. You said that
your mentor saved your life. I had mentioned.
Yeah. Did. Oh yeah, I brought up the van. This is good.
Yes.
So it wasn't an ice cream truck,
Okay.
but it was a Ford E150 Econoline camper van. That thing had a couch in the back and a sink and a microwave and the old wooden console TV, and I had like an 8
Sounds
disc
like the
CD.
dream.
It was the dream. I also liked guns a lot.
Yep.
And I started collecting them. I mean, on the streets, you end up with a lot of guns. People were like, "Hey, do you want this shotgun for a point of dope?" Like, sure, okay. And so I ended up with a lot of guns, shotguns, pistols, muzzle loaders, all the things. And so my dad, had property out in the middle of nowhere, so we could go shoot, no problem. So I would have sometimes like 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 guns in this van. Not that I was going to go hurt anybody.
Yeah.
I wanted to go shoot. But when you put it into perspective, if somebody was to say, ice cream truck pulled over on the side of the road with 10 weapons in it and a bag of dope.
It's a real bad look.
It's a really bad look. These
Yeah.
are the types of things I was doing on a regular basis. And that's what the judge said. He said, what really gets me, Reed, is, all these guns and all these drugs you're riding around armed, this is dangerous. This could have ended really badly. And he was right. It could have ended really badly. And so my mentor did save me from my own stupidity.
It's got to suck that you can't own guns anymore.
I think I might be able to now.
Really? Now that your records are sealed?
With the sealing of the record, I think I might be able to. I need to consult with a lawyer.
I thought it was just like a lifetime. If you're ever convicted of a felony, it's over.
I can tell you for sure that if you're pardoned, whether it's by your state governor or the president, then you absolutely can get them. I'm pretty sure that when you get your record expunged, you can too. Sealing's not quite as good as expungement. So like if I applied for a law enforcement job, then they could see it. Or if I caught another felony, they could see that I had these. Other than that, so I'm not sure if I went to like buy a gun from Walmart that it would register. I'm not going to go do that. I need to consult with an attorney, but there's a chance I might have my gun rights back. That would be
That's
sweet.
exciting.
It is exciting. I
That's
feel like as
exciting.
an American, like you deserve to have a gun if
I
you want to have a
agree.
gun.
I own guns. I love guns.
The government
dude.
has guns. Why? I mean, I don't want other people having guns and me not having one. That doesn't seem
Yep.
safe.
Yeah. I don't know. I think shooting's also just fun, dude.
So
it's
much fun.
that dopamine rush you get. It's like getting high. It really is.
Yeah, it's addictive.
It is.
And I mean, there's a lot of nuance to guns. They're fun to learn about, the different calibers and the makes and the way you tear them down, you keep them clean. It's a cool hobby. Guns are fun things, but they don't mix well with crime and drugs.
No, they don't. And I mean, you got pretty lucky that you were never put into a situation where you had to use some gun that you bought off, one of your customers or something, because that would have ended horribly.
That would have ended up horribly. I'm very fortunate that, I've been in some interesting situations involving firearms.
Yeah.
Especially people close to me. I mean, I'll tell the stories about my brother. They're a little bit more animated than me. One of them, he was up in Columbus. Because, I mean, I got to level with you. A lot of the reasons I ended up getting into drug dealing is because I had a great advisor and mentor and role model that was my brother. He never wanted me to be a drug dealer, okay? But he was a drug dealer and he was good at it. And so I watched him my entire adolescent life. And so later in life, I learned about some of the crazy things he got into. And one time he was going up to Columbus to grab a bag. And the people he was getting it from tried to rob him. And so they kind of, took his stuff out of his pockets, grabbed his money, set it on the hood of the car, grabbed his pistol, set it on the hood of the car, and they were whatever. And so my brother grabbed the gun off the hood of the car, shot the guy in the stomach, and then bailed out. And so I had no idea until after my brother passed that this is what happened. His girlfriend had told me the story. So apparently my brother had shot some guy in an alley in Columbus that was trying to rob him. And then another friend of mine down in North Carolina, which is my brother spent a lot of time down there. We were catching up a few years ago. He's like, yeah, man, I remember I was at the gas station one day. And next thing I know, I heard shots firing. I'm like, what do you mean shots firing? Like, there was a law enforcement situation. He's like, nah, bro, your brother was out the passenger side of my car, like shooting at his ops. He's like, oh, this shit's getting real. Like, my brother had ops like that. He's like, yeah, dude, I didn't know what was going on. I was going to die. So thankfully, I've never had to fully air it out with anybody. And I don't really know, what we should reference on the air. But thankfully, nothing.
You can reference whatever you want to on this show.
Thankfully, nothing went so awry that my life was taken, or that I had to take anybody else's. Thankfully, I avoided all of that because, I actually stopped carrying, because I did carry a pistol with me when I was out there trafficking for a while. When I realized I was in enough situations where it would be easy to use it, I left it at the house. I started just carrying brass knuckles because I'm like, I don't want to have to use this someday, because somebody might try you or test you. You might end up in that spot. And if you've got it on you, you're going to be likely to use it. And I said, I don't want it to end that way. So I started leaving the pistols at the house. I'm glad I did.
Yeah. I mean, if you ever one bad situation where you had to use it and you got caught, it's over. You'd still be in prison.
There's a lot of guys I was in there with that were doing a long time. Actually, I have this really cool painting. I'll see if I can find a picture of it so you can show it, but it's Pennywise, airbrush, clown face. And this guy named Chaos, he painted it while he was in there. I watched him, he's walking down the hallway, carrying it back to his rack. I said, what are you doing that? He's like, selling it. I was like, did you paint that? Apparently you have airbrush studios in prison these days. Crazy. And Chaos's story is he was doing maybe like 9 or 12 years, and he had gotten away with this crime. He blew apart the guy who molested his niece at the bar one night with a 12 gauge, and he got away with it. Right? I mean, way to serve justice, my brother. He got away with it for a decade, and then finally somebody told on him about it. And then they got him with manslaughtering, which was really interesting to me. But I was in there with tons of guys who had committed murder, and not all of them were bad people. And you know what my defense attorney stood out to me, she said during my sentencing, she says, we're not defined by the worst things that we've ever done. I think they matter. They put things in perspective. We are responsible for those choices, but we are not just those choices.
100%. I mean, God, I'm just thinking about the dude who blew the guy who molested his daughter apart, and wondering what incentive would someone have to snitch after 10 years? Like,
that's
why
what
would
stood
they?
out. I have no idea. I mean, being involved in politics, people rumor, gossip, they throw shade for who knows what. And plus, if you're connected to the person that got blown away, I mean, yeah, they're a sex offender, but you probably love them in some fashion.
Still your family member.
Yeah. And things are really close over in Appalachia. We're very closely connected over there.
Small town kind of feel.
Very small town. Being in LA is so refreshing. So big, so spread out, so many different opportunities and interesting people to meet.
It's refreshing until you're stuck in traffic.
Well, that's why I Ubered over. I pop on the scuba or the scooter or one of the bikes. I've got a bike. I've been biking a lot. Yeah, I like traveling that way, but I'm cool on driving.
We're running a good time today. You're not going to hit much traffic on the way back, probably.
Okay, good to know.
You should be, I think, right, Chris? Yeah, that guy's the LA native.
LA is so interesting. My Uber driver was a drag queen. We're talking about, I was like, because he said one of the cool things about LA is how you can just be you want to out here, and you can find all kinds of creative ways to make money.
Yeah.
I said, well, tell me some of the interesting ways you make money. He's like, well, I'm a drag queen. I'm like, all right. He said, next thing you know, I'm on the cover of Vogue with RuPaul. I'm like, all right.
The hell?
So I was just saying that, maybe your drag queen Uber driver gets to deal with the traffic instead of you in LA. Just been my experience.
That's such an LA experience.
It's
the
so
drag
LA,
queen Uber driver on the cover of Vogue.
Travell was such a good guy.
I hope you tipped him well.
I'm gonna have to tip him after this. I was in a hurry getting in here. Yeah, we'll double up for him.
So, when you first started using when you were younger, how quickly would you say it progressed into full-on addiction?
I was addicted to cigarettes before I was addicted to weed.
Okay.
And so I was smoking cigarettes at the time, and I knew I was addicted. I formed a friendship with cigarettes. They would keep me company. I would pull out the ashtray, sit on the floor, listen to my punk rock albums, and just smoke in the evenings. It was a companion.
What kind of cigs?
Marb Smooths to start, then Marb Menthols.
I used to like Marb Reds.
Yeah. Oh,
Can't
we
do
got
it
to
anymore.
got to Marb Reds when I was in high school. But down south, the culture was different. North Carolina, menthols were popular. Back in West Virginia, full flavors were popular. And so that's the interesting thing about starting when you're a teenager, when you're starting for belonging purposes.
Yep.
Is it was less about an addiction to start than it was something we did when we got together as friends. So 13, 14, I did it socially with my friends. 15, I moved back in with my dad up in West Virginia. We did it together as a father-son type thing. That was our thing. We
Mhm.
would, put our money together and we would get an eighth of weed and we would roll up. He would roll the joints tighter than I don't know what. They would burn out. I'm like, Dad, really? What do you got to roll this joint so tight for? And we would sit on the couch and smoke in the evenings. And that's what we did.
Mhm.
You do that enough, it becomes a habit. You do it enough and you don't have weed, and then you realize, I really want some weed. Now I can't sleep. Now all I'm thinking about is weed.
Yeah.
So probably 15, 16 at the latest, it became an addiction to where that was my number one focus. School, yeah, cool. I'll go and do my best. Tennis, love tennis. That's great. I'm going to hang out with my friends, but ultimately, like, I've got to figure out a way to get weed.
Yeah.
And I'm going to want some alcohol if I don't have it, or maybe if I do. So just a couple years it took, but it wasn't an instant thing. I think maybe I've always had an addictive temperament. It probably runs in the family if everybody else's.
I relate to that a lot. I mean, when I was younger, I don't think my addiction was tied to a drug until I was like 19 or 20 and doing a bunch of blow.
Mhm.
Up until then, it was really for me just like I want to be high, you know?
Yeah.
Which I think a lot of people, when they're young like that and just doing it with friends, that's all you want to do. It doesn't really matter what you're high on. Like I would have huffed expo markers for long enough if it got me high, you know?
Remember drinking Robitussin? Did you ever do that or take
Oh
triple
yeah.
C's? Yeah.
Oh yeah. Triple C's.
Gosh.
Dude, I took 15 my first time because I had a friend who was like super addicted to him, and he was like, dude, 15 is the perfect starter dose. Like that's exactly
There's
what you
no
need.
way you were standing after
I was
that.
face down on my friend's lawn in the middle of July with my shirt off in like a pool of my own vomit.
Oh, no.
And they were like, dude, we got to get him off the lawn. Someone's going to call the cops. They dragged me into my own car that's parked in the street, put me in the passenger seat and roll the window down. And there's just like vomit all down the side of my car. And then I finally get back up, go inside. And I think if I remember correctly, I ended up passing out in the bathtub. And then I woke up eventually.
16's
like
a
that night.
lot. I think 6 or 8 would do it the first time.
Oh, easily, dude. 8 was like my normal dose after I got into the swing of it.
Oh, gosh.
15 was, I never took that many again after that day.
So did you guys have like triple C parties? Was that a thing back in?
I wouldn't call them parties, but like if we were at a party, triple C's were being brought.
Okay,
you know?
okay, got it, yeah.
But, you know, usually it was like a stolen bottle of Smirnoff kind of party,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, and the triple C's just come out.
As I reflected on why I used drugs back then, I thought about it. Like, yeah, it was fun to get high, and especially when it comes to music, I remember how much better music was. But I do think that there was something I was trying to escape. I think I was trying to escape from a reality that I was dissatisfied with.
Yep.
I think that there was the lack of attention, the lack of connection, the lack of love from my parents and my siblings. And so since I didn't have that, it's like, all right, let me do this thing that feels good. Not just because I want to feel good, but because like it's a human need that I have. But I remember when I did meth when I was 24, and maybe still trying to feel some of that need. But as soon as you do meth and you get high, there's nothing else you want to do.
Yep.
That's why so many people just end up in prison, because it's like, I'm going to start calling off work. And now I don't need a job. And now I don't have a job, but I want meth. And so I guess I'm going to steal stuff or rob people or sell meth. And that's how it goes. But, people use drugs for different things. My dad was a lot different than my mom. He liked it recreationally. He liked it to have a good time. He could set it down. Mom, on the other hand, life was always a party. She had to have drugs to have the party. And if she didn't, everything was falling apart.
Meth is more often than not, I feel like one of those drugs where people have like reservations about it in their mind.
Yeah.
Like people are always like, oh, I'll smoke weed. I'll, try the Robitussin. I'll take a Xan, but like meth, I'm not going to do that. Did you have that problem going into like the time you tried meth?
Of course. That's why I hopped up and I said, get the fuck out of my camper. You're not allowed to have meth in here. What's wrong with you? Why would you
Snorting
bring
it
that out
probably
here?
eased it for you.
It did, because
like,
I
okay.
told her I like to snort my drugs. And she's like, well, you can snort it. And I'm like, well, if you can snort it, then it's not injecting it or smoking it. And that's less bad. One of the funniest things about my history, like in the meth realm, is everybody that's on meth, they don't want to say meth. So when you're talking about it, they'll be like, meth.
Yep.
They start to whisper about meth, or they'll call it go or ice cream or whatever. They won't say meth. And so that, I think, proves to your point that there is this big stigma about meth because it sounds so bad. And it is so bad. But once you're using it, it's not bad in the way people think it's bad. I think it's bad because what the after effect is. People lose their lives. They lose their physical being. They lose their health. They lose everything. But when you're high on meth, it does not feel like the way it sounds to most people. It feels like bliss. I mean, and so I think about it sometimes, Nick, because I've gotten into recovery and done a lot of recovery work and never want to glorify or model or promote using drugs. And I definitely think the world can be a better place with less substance use. I also realize that if drugs are around, people are always probably going to use them, maybe.
Hmm.
If I went back, would I actually want to never use them? Because when I talk to people who are in active addiction, I think, if that's what they want to do and it makes their life better, then who am I to judge them?
Hmm.
Um, I really appreciate the fact that I've tried a lot of things. It helps me be a better human now and say I'm cool, on all that stuff. But for the people who have never tried substances, it's like I can understand the curiosity, and now I'm in a really good position where I can say, this is what happened to me, right? Like I actually lost everybody that I loved. My family's currently still dying from those choices. I'm going to be the last living family member. Will I make it to 40 and still have any family members? I'll be really pleased if I do. Will I make it to 50? It could be unlikely. And so to know the effects that it had, not just on the people around me, but me, it wasn't until I was 26 or 27 that I had a chance at a future.
Hmm.
I've been to college 3 times, dropped out all 3 times. Probably never made more than 30 grand a year leading up to me going to prison. I've fucking doubled, if not tripled that over the past 5 years. And
Hmm.
I get to do kind of whatever I want, whenever I want, because I don't use drugs.
Yep.
And I'm happy. I wake up and I feel good. And I don't need something. I'm not always thinking about, oh my gosh, when am I going to get this thing that I need? It's like I wake up, oh, life's pretty good. I feel good today. There's tons of opportunity. And when I came home from prison, I didn't really know that this was possible. I'd been sober for 2 years in there, but I'd never been sober on the streets. I was
Yep.
scared. I was like, dude, I might go back to selling dope. Probably going to go back to getting high. That's what I've always done. I don't want to, but I'm afraid that I will. And I didn't. And it was like 4 years in, just looking out my window there in Belpre thinking, I've made it. It's been 4 years, thousands of days that I've chosen to not use drugs.
Mhm.
I'd chosen since I was 13 to use them, and now I'm choosing not to. It's such a foreign concept. And I'm like, I like this life better. This is a better life. It's not easier.
Hmm.
Life without drugs is not easier, but it's the better choice. I can look around the people who care about me and support me and look at them with honesty and see that there's like a baseline of respect. I don't feel that shame. I don't feel that
Yep.
guilt. And it's a good feeling. I feel spiritually aligned with God's purpose for me. And that's a blessing.
I mean, I think waking up in the morning and not immediately fiending as soon as your eyes are open is just a very like special thing. It's very nice to wake up and have that clear mindset of like, okay, what do I want to do right now? Instead of like, fuck, where's my bag?
Where's your cigarettes at?
Yep. Where's my cigarette? Where's my bag? Where's my bottle?
Yeah,
It's a horrible way to start your day.
it is. And I've got some friends that smoke cigarettes still, and I do feel bad for them. Just because it's a chain, and it was a
Mhm.
friend to me, so I understand that there's a relationship with the thing itself, but I know who they can be on the other side of healthier choices, and I just pray and I want that for people. I want people to feel their best, whatever that looks like, and for me, it's been without substances, and I see how that's been true for a lot of people.
Yeah.
It's just like what's the recipe to getting people there? And I think everybody's path is different. For me, it took most of the drugs and incarceration and losing everybody.
Hmm.
For some people, they just never try it. And then some people, it's just a different path for everybody.
I don't think I asked you earlier, but what did you go to school for when you went to college?
Oh God, I appreciate you asking, man. Yeah, I wanted to be a scientist.
Oh, okay.
So I fell in love with physics when I was a teenager. The trailer me and dad lived in was right down the alley from the library, and I would go. And on History Channel, there was this show called The Universe, and it was always super intriguing to me. And I was always good at science and math in
Okay.
school. And so I would go check out these books, Michio Kaku and Steven Weinberg, Dreams of a Final Theory, and learn about elementary and particle physics and quantum mechanics. And so that really got my mind churning in that direction. And I ended up on our Science Bowl team, and I was on our Quiz Bowl team, and really felt drawn into that space. Ended up realizing I didn't like practicing chemistry
Mhm.
or advanced math. So I thought maybe I can go into biology and become a molecular and cellular biologist and study aging and longevity, because when I was a teenager, I wanted to live forever.
Ooh,
I-
do you still want that?
I do not hold that belief.
I
I'm
agree
cool.
with that
I'm
belief.
cool to go whenever my time is.
Yep.
I'm excited about the afterlife.
Really?
Yeah, there's so much more that we don't know than what we know. And so I'm interested to find out what that's like. I
Mm.
have no belief that everything just ends. You know, I don't even know that there's a beginning. I just know that we're here, whatever that means. And there probably is some form of next because there was probably some form of before this. And whatever it is, I don't think can be any worse than this is. And it may not be any better. So I just think it's going to take a different shape. And so it's been a lifelong question, a existence long question for humanity is, what comes next? And we get to find out. I don't need to accelerate the process. But yeah, no, I don't want to live forever anymore. So to be a scientist was the answer. And I just can't sit still long enough to do it.
Yeah.
I like learning about science. I don't like practicing science.
Science requires a lot of sitting still to learn.
And I need drugs to sit still.
So you got a problem.
I got a problem. Yeah, that's why I exercise so much. I like to run.
Yep.
I like to run or play tennis or lifting stuff. Or if I'm sitting still, I like to be napping.
It's interesting hearing you talk about really being into aging and longevity. Have you seen that? I don't know what company he's the CEO of. There's this guy named Brian Johnson.
Oh, yeah. I've seen Brian Johnson.
Oh, I figured you'd be tapped in with him.
Well, I mean, he kind of terrifies me, if I'm being honest.
Me too.
Like, not attacking him as a person, but I get the wrong vibes from him.
He gives very like evil scientist in like his lair vibes to me.
So I was just thinking about him yesterday. I was with my homie. He took me down to Huntington Beach to check out this house. We were coming back, and my buddy's a motivational speaker, and he does poetry, and we're going to an open mic night. He likes to talk, and that's cool. We were in the car for like 3 hours, and he'd still talking. I'm on my phone trying to get caught up on work and messages and stuff. And I'm just like, occasionally I'm okay with the silence, thinking this in my head. And then a Brian Johnson reel popped in my mind. He's like, yeah, me and my son have this understanding that I have 4 hours during each day of focused thought, and we don't even say hi to each other in the house. Like, I understand you want to set a boundary and having your peace and stuff, but also that's just a little bit bizarre to me.
Yep.
Imagine living with somebody. It's like, we don't speak to each other half the day. We have to take it outside if we want to have a conversation.
If you even glance at him, you've thrown off his whole regimen.
After 1 p.m., like I'm too busy with the Botox.
Sorry, I can't glance at my dad yet. It's not 1 o'clock.
But yeah, I'm familiar with Brian Johnson. I love learning about aging and longevity and that stuff because I think it's important. I think I had knee surgery back in August, and she was trying to advise me to have it repaired again, and the chances of it re-tearing were pretty high. And I'm like, it's already torn once. I don't want you to repair it so it's going to tear again. She's like, well, I can take it out. Chances of arthritis goes up, but you can get a knee replacement. I'm like, in 3 years, a robot's going to come and give me a whole new leg.
Yep.
Why am I worried about a little
You're
bit
going to have
of tissue?
a sick cyborg.
We're going to have such awesome. I mean, I come to LA and there's a car that doesn't have a driver toting people around.
Oh, you got to get one of those while you're here, dude.
Are they more expensive or more affordable?
No, they're
than
cheaper.
The Ubers? They're cheaper than the
They're
Ubers.
cheaper, yeah.
If it'll take me back, I'll have to call one.
So right now, the area that you can get one's kind of limited.
Yeah.
You have to be more in like central LA to get one. But if you're in Hollywood at any point, like, yeah, you can get one.
Are there any drag queen Wavos yet, or?
I don't think so. No, but there's probably some drag queen support agents for the Wavos. You can talk to them anytime.
I got to tell Travell he's got to hop in the Wavo. And there's also this little, what do you call them?
The delivery robots?
Yeah, they tote Uber down the sidewalk.
Yep, I know exactly what you're talking about.
West Virginia, their minds are going to be blown.
You know what they have now too? Sometimes if you order Uber Eats here, they'll have a autonomous car just come deliver it, and they'll refund you your tip because there was no person.
No, I didn't know that.
It's insane.
It is insane.
It's nuts.
2025, so 2030, who knows what's going to be happening. But we are inherently going to live longer, and so I think it's so important to take care of our bodies. I mean, that's a lot of what I talk about. It's mind, spirit, and body. And by no means perfect. Sometimes I like to get down with the biscuits and the pancakes and stuff. But I think it's important that we take care of our vessel because who wants to be 110 and in pain all the time?
Yeah.
You ever watch David Goggins stuff or read his book?
I have. Yeah. I've only seen like reels of him. I don't think I've actually read his book or anything long form on him, but.
Yeah, well, he was in an interview one time, and the guy was just asking him. He said, "Do you regret pushing it so hard?" And it was so sad because Goggins was like, "He's like, yeah." He's like, "I definitely hurt all the time." Damn, he's in his 40s. I mean, I respect the man. He's tough as hell, but to put your body through so much to where you're constantly in severe pain, it's a lot. And I think you can actually end up doing that. I'm aware that I, at least look my age, if not younger. On the inside, dude, these bones feel old.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been repeatedly getting injured over the past 5 years from athletics, just my body breaking down from the stuff I put it through, whether it was psych meds or eating Hot Pockets and Little Debbie's or like all the meth and cocaine and alcohol. It takes its toll. And it is kind of a regret of mine. I wish that when I was a teenager, there was somebody that was really disciplined and said, hey, this is what you eat on a daily basis. This is how you go to the store and you take care of yourself. You need to exercise and stretch, blah, blah, blah. Because I didn't get that. And now I'm 33 and it's like, fuck, it's catching up with me. But that's okay. I don't regret it because God gave me this experience so I can talk to young people and be like, hey, eat a vegetable, man. Eat some tuna, man. Go for a walk, move your body. Give a shit about yourself, because if you don't, perhaps nobody will. And you do not want to be 30 or 40 looking yourself in the mirror and be like, I fucked up.
Sitting there in pain.
Because that often leads people to use drugs. That's how my dad got addicted to opiates. You know, he had neck surgery and he started taking pills, which is a story that's very common in West Virginia because they were just overprescribed. And yeah, puts you back down the addiction rabbit hole. You don't want that. So what's next, brother? What else? We got
I mean, I have plenty of notes. I honestly haven't even referenced them because we've just been riffing. We've just been riffing.
I mean, I had a question for you, actually. I mean, we talked about this a little bit.
I have plenty more to ask you as well.
Perfect. Yeah, I just want to know, what's your thousands of people are going to see this.
Yep.
And I know why that's important to me, but what do you hope that the viewers get from this? I mean, it's not just views on a video. What do you hope as people they gain?
I mean, I think the core of this show, for the most part, we vary every now and then, is just giving people different perspectives on addiction and all. It's not always addiction. I mean, we've had an FBI agent on the show. We've had like other genres of people, but mainly it's current addicts, recovering addicts, people who have experienced that type of lifestyle, maybe from a different perspective that I have, and I think the whole like reason I started the show to begin with is because for years, the people that have followed me have heard like only my POV on addiction. They've only heard my 2 cents. When people drop a comment and they ask like, Goblin, how did you stop doing coke? And I tell them, well, I just smoked myself retarded for a year straight. Like, not everyone wants to do that, So I think it's important for those people to be able to hear like what you have to say on sobriety, or what any of my other guests have to say on it. Because then they can get to understand, they can be like, well, I don't relate to what Nick said, but I relate to what Reed said, and I think that's important for people. So that's kind of why I do it.
Gosh, yeah, I love to hear that because I wasn't sure, and I appreciate that. Yeah, smoking myself stupid was not my strategy. I've got a lot of friends in recovery that, whether they still smoke or they still drink or they take, Suboxone, they have their pathway or their modality to what sober looks like for them. For me, I try to be as close to a teetotaler as I can. Rarely will I drink some coffee to lock in, or just for whatever reason. I still struggle with food. Like, I've got an eating disorder. I definitely lean into food for coping. I definitely can struggle with overworking sometimes, running myself ragged. I can struggle with over-exercising sometimes, breaking my body down. So not that any of those are better than any other things that we use. It's just been my pathway, and I'm really satisfied with finding things that I value and I get excited about. They really turn me on. And when I think about when I'm talking to somebody who may be thinking about getting sober, my question to them is, what interests you? What do you like? Like, do you get down with Call of Duty? Like, okay, well, like, what's the way you can play that like maybe doesn't involve drugs? Or, have you ever tried to volunteer somewhere? Like, what have you ever done for work? Did you like any of it? What were the people like that you like? Where do they exist? And just really explore somebody's interest and go out there and try new shit. I mean, that's really been the bane of my success, is trying new things, showing up and going out there and exploring the things that interest me. I mean, I'm sure at one point, YouTube wasn't a thing for you. And then at some point you're exposed to, I don't know how old you were when you found YouTube, but at some point you're
I was very young.
Yeah.
I was like 12.
12.
I was very young.
When did you fall in love with it though? Like, what made you fall in love with YouTube?
It was just fun, dude. I mean, I was a kid and I was watching all these like older people, like teenagers and shit, make videos playing Call of Duty. And I played a ton of Call of Duty when I was a kid. And I was like, dude, I want to fucking get 1,000 subscribers playing Call of Duty. I want everyone to be like, wow, he's so good. So that's just why I started doing it. And then eventually it morphed into what it is today when I stopped playing Call of Duty.
Isn't that incredible what just leaning into your passion can cause?
Yeah.
You had no anticipation you'd build 1 million subscribers on a channel.
I mean, I am eternally grateful that I ended up doing YouTube as much as I did when I was younger, because I don't know what the hell I'd be doing right now if it weren't for that, dude.
Dude, I gotta tell you, there was a time I stayed with this guy, and it was when I was homeless, and he rented me a room for like 100, $200. And in the basement, we had the loudspeaker, and we had the big screen, and we'd be playing Call of Duty. This guy literally had a trash can in the basement. Instead of going upstairs and using the bathroom, he would piss in this trash can until it was full. This trash can would be full of piss in the room playing Call of Duty because he cared about video games so much. But I remember the days, rubbing snuff, getting down, snorting no-dos. You ever snort no-dos?
No.
Don't. It burns. It's no different than if you just take them. You know what no-dos are, the caffeine tablets?
No.
Yeah, they sell them at the gas station. There's 200 milligrams in a tablet, and you can take them for caffeine if you don't want to drink coffee.
And you're railing them?
We used to, well, may railed a few in my day. Railing no-dos and rubbing snuff, playing Modern Warfare 2 on Rust with the Scar at 2 in the morning. Yep, the good old days. Who would have thought it would lead us here?
We were around for the good era of Call of Duty. Call of Duty's not good anymore.
I don't own a video game system. I'm trying to think of the last one that Black Ops 2 was the last one that I really played.
You ended at the perfect time. I'm
Thanks.
not gonna lie.
I mean, I got a good taste.
It only got worse from there, dude.
I'm aware. Yeah, there's a reason I don't have one. You know what? Did you ever play? How old are you?
I'm 26.
Did you miss the GoldenEye 007 games?
I did not play GoldenEye. I was too young.
You're missing out. I hope your viewers aren't too young to remember that because fucking GoldenEye was amazing.
They shouldn't be. Our demographics are pretty widespread.
Good. Yeah, the old RCP 90.
We're probably going to get more comments making fun of me for not having played it.
That's okay. I won't judge you for that. Actually, so do you know Ian? Have you met Ian?
No.
Okay. Well, you need to because up at his studio.
I watched the show quite a bit.
Dude, he's got his studio is so cool. There's a ping pong table in the middle of it, and he's got video game systems. So we're playing zombies there after we're done. I was pretty impressed with that. It's a super chill vibe.
We got to get a TV and a PlayStation in here.
Yep. Ping pong table. It's coming. It's coming.
Once we get a bigger apartment.
Yeah.
We used to have a warehouse down in Santa Monica, but that cost too much money, and we had to share it. So we moved out of that.
Keep your expenses low. And this is a good setting. I like it.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah. Appreciate it. So one of the things I'm curious about, I read all about your sentencing and how your trial went. And A, it sounds like you had a shit show of a trial. And B, you got busted in a very interesting way. You had 2 separate confidential informants working on your case, and correct me if this number's wrong, but they made 4 controlled buys from you before they actually ended up arresting you?
Yeah, there are a lot of details. It was messy. The case spanned months. Gosh. So when I was early doing meth, I was working a labor job. This was before I quit my job.
Okay.
I went out to St. Louis and worked on the road with this hydroblasting company. We would get in the boilers at these plants and pressure blast these big pieces of equipment all day long. Where there's this guy who I roomed with who just came home from prison. His name was Dave Wheeler. And I was doing meth at the time. I would carry a little bag with me and kind of do it in private, whatever. And I found out he'd just come home from prison and he was kind of adventurous on that front. And so I was like, do you mess around at all? He's like, I used to be the coke, whatever. And so next thing you know, me and him are doing ice together. Next thing you know, he's addicted to it. And outside of work, he's like, can you bring me a bag, whatever. And so, I'm bringing him little bags and stuff, nothing big time. And as I grew into trafficking larger scale, he remained a customer of mine. He got super strung out and in a really noticeable way. He was just really frantic a lot. And I think he got involved in the scene to where he could get drugs at a better price. So Dave ended up being one of my informants. And there were some really, really sketchy times where he wanted me to meet him in a bathroom at Walmart to make a deal. And I could tell coming down the road from Newport, Ohio to Marietta, it was a 20-mile ride. I just felt like I was being followed. And I get into the apartment, he's texting me like, no, meet here. Wait a second, this and that. And I'm seeing cars parking stuff. And I'm seeing people in the windows looking at me. I'm telling my girl who's with me, I said, something ain't right about this. He's like, come in, I'm in the bathroom. We'll do it underneath the stall. No, I'm not going in Walmart and doing the handoff. You've lost your mind. And so that was one of the control buys that they tried to get me on that they weren't able to document because there was no exchange. And there was another one that I did with Dave. I don't even recall. I'm telling you the background about Dave because Dave died as he was working on conducting these interviews. Dave was in an accident. So apparently his car broke down on 77, the interstate, in the middle of winter. And he was in front of the car trying to look at it or fix it or something. And then a semi truck comes, changes lanes, ends up hitting him in his car. And
It's
so
horrible.
Dave was, killed by this semi truck. At least that's how it was phrased in the newspaper.
Mhm.
And so I was sitting in jail when I found out about this. And I'm like, I wonder if it was staged. Because I realized he was one of my confidential informants. I wonder if they're just lying and they acted like he was killed so he can go somewhere else. And the answer is no, he really was murdered as far as I can tell, or killed.
Mhm.
But he was one of the CIs. And since he died and they didn't have enough evidence on me, they had to find other ones. And there was a guy down the street who they had caught on some stuff. So he came down. It was a transaction in my living room. And I knew better. The dude was a narc. So that was my stupidity. That was a thing, getting in the drug trade with meth. I didn't know a bunch of people that do meth. That wasn't, I smoked weed, drank, partied and stuff, but I was never injecting stuff or doing heroin or meth. Well, I ended up having to sell meth to way too many people that I shouldn't have been messing with, this guy included. And there's another chick who, tried to get my girl to come down and do an exchange at the gas station. So there's 3 informants and probably, 4 or 5 controlled buys over the course of months that I was implicated in. And I remember I just told my dad and my girl both, I was like, I know that they're watching me. Like, shit is super sketchy. And if I don't stop selling drugs now, I am going to go to prison. What are you going to do when I go to the joint? And she's like, I'll wait for you. I was like, what if it's 5 years, 10 years? I'll wait. Okay. She waited about 1 year, which is actually longer than I expected. But I'm glad she did. It was a perfect length of time that I got. And as far as the judicial process, it was eye-opening to me because, I thought being young, being a promising youth, being somebody who's dealt with my own mental illness diagnosis and addiction, that I would be a good candidate for drug court. Well, I think the guns and the severity of the amount of drugs and over time really ruled that out for me. I thought I kind of got screwed at first. I was like, man, I don't want to go to prison at all. I want to get out of jail and go to drug court. But a lot of guys told me, they're like, nah, man, like if you were black, like you would have been doing 8 years. You got lucky. You got a sweet first sentence for 2 years on all of this. And then I went to prison and I realized like a lot of guys are in there doing way longer time for way less crimes. There's one guy who's doing 8 years, my buddy Lee, for robbing the drug dealer. He's like the weed dealer caught an attitude with him. So he took his bag of weed and then the weed dealer called the cops on him. Imagine being a drug dealer and calling the cops on the person that robbed you.
It's ridiculous.
And he got 8 or 9 years for it. I'm like, I was slinging meth. I mean, and I got 2. So I was pretty fortunate. And I do believe that the judge is a good person. And the prosecutor, I was a little bit upset because my grandpa had met with him. I call my mentor my grandpa. Had met with him a couple times and talked about my case and stuff. And he led my mentor to believe that I would get probation with a suspended sentence. And that wasn't the case. So we were both shocked by that. I appealed the case and I was awarded an appeal. So I came back for resentencing and they tried to give me more time, which I was like, I'm not going to appeal this if you guys give me more time. Well, they tried to anyways. And then my lawyer called a recess and she's in the room yelling, screaming. So thankfully they didn't give me any more time. So there was a lot throughout the road that was eye-opening, that was concerning, that raised questions about the judicial system. One thing I will say, I mean, it's all public info, is both the judge and the prosecutor are heavily involved with the Republican Party in that county. And this isn't a partisan statement. It's a fact about their political affiliation. And the head prosecutor position is an elected position, just like the judge is an elected position. And I just found it really interesting that our judicial system is ran by elected offices versus appointed or hired ones, because you have this incentive of, if I do what the community thinks is best or what looks best, then I'll do it, not necessarily what's right, because those can be 2 different things. And it's like, well, punish the drug dealer is typically the more publicly accepted thing versus let's look into the nuance of the case and who this person really is and do what's best. But I think things are changing. That's why they've started drug court and stuff. So.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. That shouldn't be an elected position.
It doesn't make sense.
That absolutely, any position where you're in control of someone's freedom like that shouldn't be elected.
I don't think so. I don't think it works. That's been my fundamental disagreement. I think it should be appointed by committee, probably.
When you look back at the people who informed on you, now that your life's completely changed and you're clean, do you feel resentment towards them, or how do you feel about that?
I'll keep it real with you. When I first came home from prison, I thought I might have a lot of reasons to go back to prison. I was pretty irritated. I got a letter in the mail from a guy who I was running with who said, we know you told bitch, snitch, or something. And I'm like, what are you talking about? You were in my paperwork. You told on me. They found an 8-ball under your seat and scales under your seat in West Virginia when I was in Ohio. And you said, Reed's across the river in Ohio right now with all this drugs. And I got raided the next day. Where am I at in your paperwork? You're mailing me letters trying to call me out. I'm like, And so I was rolling around for a minute thinking, what happens if I return to that criminal lifestyle, that criminal thinking? and to ask myself who I really wanted to be. Do I want to be a drug dealer? Do I want to be a convict? Do I want to be, somebody like that, or do I want to be sober? Do I want to have a chance at a future? That kid who wanted to be a scientist, do I want to rekindle that spark? And so there's a few weeks, maybe a couple months of thinking about, I'll just say retaliation and return to that because, yeah, there are people who told on me. There are people who hurt me. There are people who took years of my life.
Mhm.
And I don't take that lightly. But, what do I want for my future? Do I want to go back? Do I want to be the person who I didn't like that led me there? Or do I want to forgive them and offer them grace and pray that they find their healing too and
Mhm.
that it'll work out the way it meant to? So, yeah, I've found a lot of healing. I found a lot of peace about that. I don't hold any resentments towards them. I hope that they're doing good. I hope that they're okay. I pray that they're sober and happy. And if not, I hope that they find it because it took things exactly the way that they were for me to get to where I was going to make it here. And I think things have worked out perfectly.
Have you ever like responded to one of those letters or reached out to them to try to like, I don't know, smooth the bridge or something?
No, I wouldn't say smooth the bridge. I mean, I definitely rolled past a dude's house a couple times to see if he was home. That's as much as interaction as I would.
Okay.
I was
Okay.
trying to see where he was at, but
Doesn't sound like you were trying to shake
I
hands.
wasn't trying to hug it out. And so sometimes when I'm in West Virginia, like in those areas, I think, oh, like, will I run into this person? Sometimes I think like, will somebody from my past pop up and they're still in the midst of it and hate on me for what I'm doing now. And
Yeah.
I can't stress over it. I know I'm on the right path. And yeah, no, I definitely have no amends to make in those spaces. I've got a lot of friends who still use recreationally or some that are in addiction. And I feel really empowered that I'm able to maintain my sobriety and that they're able to see what I'm doing and to be able to be proud of somebody who made it from where we were together to a place where a lot of people from our area haven't made it to.
When you, well, actually, no, I should probably ask before I need some more information. How long in total did you spend in prison? Like leading up and then after your sentence?
Yeah, good question. I was sentenced to 2 years and it was 7 months in the county awaiting sentencing.
Mhm.
And then so I got time served for all of that. And then I went to prison. I spent over a year in prison. So I served about 20 months on the 2 years because good behavior. So I didn't, get sent to SEG for anything.
Mhm.
And I got certified as a plumber, which they knocked some time off for that. Yeah, I'm a certified plumber.
You can do that in prison?
Yeah, dude. They
That's
have
sick.
VOTEC and they have an associate's program. At least they used to. You can get your associate's degree in prison.
Fucking awesome.
I took a horticulture class. I got some good days for that. I became a certified tutor. I was in NA,
No
and
way.
AA. I was the captain of a kickball team. I was in there baking cakes.
You were locked in.
Dude, it's summer camp for adults. And they were telling me this when I was in jail. And I was like, you're full of shit. I'm going to go there. And these guys are going to try and rape me. Who knows? I'm going to have to kill somebody. And no, it was super sweet. It is summer camp for adults. I mean, I told you the guy who airbrushed this painting.
Yeah.
And, we played kickball. We played basketball. There's people playing soccer, frisbee. We had foosball. We had pool tables, ping pong. It was ridiculous.
Sounds like a great time.
We had tablets that you can get a movie subscription on or a music subscription on and earbuds. You're sitting on your rack watching movies. Oh, this is ridiculous.
So you're getting your certifications, you're getting your associate's degree, you're watching movies, you're playing foosball.
Yes.
This is amazing.
Why
dude.
wouldn't you want to go out and commit a bunch
I
of
want to go to
crimes?
prison.
It's
dude.
more affordable. No rent, 3 meals a day. You get your state pays like 10 or 20 bucks a month.
Wait, is the education free too?
Yeah. Certified as a
Lock me the fuck up, dude.
When I came home, I wanted to be a truck driver because there's $10,000 that they give to you for VOTEC program. It's like a grant for people returning home from prison that you can go get certified in whatever you want. And I was like, I'm gonna go be a truck driver. I didn't.
I've never heard this positive of a description of prison in my whole life.
If you want to get your life together, they got the resources. But the thing is, 85% of people don't.
Yeah.
The guys in there are like, fuck. And I think it's too comfortable personally.
Mhm.
I think maybe it's in the middle to where it's not hard and it's not comfortable enough or it's not rehabilitative focused enough because in other countries they have rehabilitation focuses that seem to work. I thought I would be in there chained to some dude and we'd be busting rocks all day
Mhm.
because that's the type of thing I felt like would not make me want to go back. But the guys in there are so comfortable. They're living good. They like it. They don't know anything else. So when they come out, like they just go rob somebody and they go right back in. These guys are bragging about, I'm going to go home and turn all the way up until the wheels fall off and then come back and do another 10 years. Why wouldn't you want to go back? Everything's answered for you. You have to make so few decisions. You know where the bathroom is. It's the only bathroom you're going to be using. You know where the chow hall is. You know where the workout room is. You've got 2 changes of clothes and all the other decisions are made for you. You come out here, it's like, I have to figure out which direction to go and I have to figure out a way to make money and I have to build relationships or I'm alone. And, so much more complicated than being an inmate. It's been a big transition to go from being an inmate to a returned citizen to finding success because there's a lot of things that being incarcerated does to you that you don't realize until you're in there.
I mean, it's fascinating to hear such a positive description because the reason I asked how long you spent is because I was about to ask you how going to prison impacted your mental health, but it sounds like it might have been a net positive.
Definitely net positive over the long run. It's a cool arc to touch on. So used to take antipsychotics. I've taken benzos, SSRIs, other anti-anxieties, mood stabilizers, and antipsychotics. So when I first got diagnosed, I was on like 6 or 7 different medicines a day. When I went to prison, it was just an antipsychotic and just a mood stabilizer. Well, the antipsychotic, it like dampens your dopamine receptors to where you don't experience as much emotion. It calms you down and helps sedate you. I was on that for years, a long, long time, and it helps calm me down. So in prison, or excuse me, in jail, they gave it to me every day for 7 months. They ride you out from jail to a place called CRC. It's like the intake for the prison. So the most dangerous, everybody comes from all over the state and they put you in this place for like a couple weeks till they figure out which prison you're going to. This is the worst part of prison. Everybody will tell you that. And so, I had to go see the doctor because I need my meds. And he's like, I don't really see why they've got you on this antipsychotic. I was diagnosed when I was 18 with bipolar disorder. I've been hospitalized, blah, blah, blah. He's like, I just don't see the mental health benefits outweighing the physical one. It raises your metabolic syndrome and your blood pressure and all this stuff. He said, I'm going to take you off of it. I'm like, the fuck you mean you're going to take me off of it in here? You want me to get manic in prison? I do not need to crash out while I'm in here. You can't do that. He's like, yeah, we're going to take you off of it. I said, could you at least like titrate me off? Could you taper me down? He's like, yeah, it's probably a good idea. Okay, doc. So he tapers me down over 2 weeks and then takes me off the fucking antipsychotic. And so I get to prison and here I am white knuckling. All these emotions come back that I haven't felt for who knows how long. Dude, I'm on edge. I slept for like 2 months, just pressed my rack, chugged coffee. You can get the bag of Keefy coffee in there. I'm dumping a whole cup full of it, just basically black juice that I'm drinking, getting high off this coffee, laying there, just wired with all these emotions because I didn't want to get out there and interact with people because I felt like I would fucking spaz out. And so this went on for several months where I was really kind of unstable, not feeling right. And you know what? Yeah, it felt uncomfortable. Yeah, it was scary. It didn't feel good. I wouldn't have chose it for myself, but I made it. And I don't take an antipsychotic anymore. I just take the mood stabilizer and I'm not manic. And it's nice to have those emotions back. It's nice to have the personality back. I feel much more like myself. And so, dude, I remember one time it was really hard going through what I went through with my ex while I was in there because she didn't answer the phone. I didn't know where she was. I'm tripping out. And I found out in my indictment that she told on me explicitly in the worst kinds of ways. She told the task force that that I made her do heroin again and quit her job. Like, oh my God, somebody came to my house to buy meth. Somebody came to my house to buy meth and they had a little bit of fentanyl. And they're like, do you want this? And I'm like, well, I don't want it, but my ex used to, use fentanyl. So I'll ask her if she wants it. If not, we'll throw it away.
Mhm.
And so I was like, hey, honey, I got you something. I don't know if you want this or not. I know this is
Hey,
awful.
honey,
Like, hey, I got you some fentanyl.
Like a nice bouquet.
And she said, and she seemed pretty pleased. I was like, I do not want you to do this. If you don't want to do it, I do not expect you to. I was like, but they had it. And I know you used to do it, so here it is. Okay, I'm a piece of shit for that. The way it was framed in the writing, the discovery packet is like he forced her to do fentanyl and quit her job. I'm like, that's not the case. She used to come home all the time complaining about your job. I was like, don't go. You ain't got to go to work. You ain't got to work. You got plenty of money. It's fine. And so she used to say that I was trading a bunch of drugs for guns. It was explicitly on the porch the day we got raided. I went to the jail. She stayed there, was talking to the prosecutor, and she just told him. Not only did she tell them everything, she told them exaggeratedly to make me look worse. And I'm like, you didn't have to do that. I already took the rap. I already took the heat.
Was she thinking they were going to come after her or something?
Probably,
or like what?
Yeah. They probably, the thing about a discovery packet is they don't really put what the interviewer says in there. They just put what the interviewed. And I'm sure that they were trying to manipulate her and scare her and say, we've got you implicated in controlled buys. And like, he's for sure going down. Do you want to go down with them? And so she was probably scared. So of course she's going to sing. But it hurt. So the point I'm bringing that up is when I found this out, I called her and I was questioning her about it. Like, what did you say that day? Of course, she's going to lie about it. And so when I was, ended up spazzing out, next thing you know, I'm smashing the phone against the payphone wall and start banging my head against the phone. And I just remember like the CO came in and told me to chill out. He was going to take me out of there. And the guys were kind of like afterwards making sure I was calm. But then we started laughing about it. And a chunk of my hair in the phone from where I was beating my head against the wall. Like those are the types of emotions I was dealing with because I didn't have my medication. So it wasn't an ideal path. It wasn't easy, man. But I think net positive in the long run, getting off that medication that I ended up not needing was positive. And having that time where, I did have to suffer. I did have to struggle. Like, it's just not easy. A lot of times you start doing drugs because it's fun and you enjoy it. 5 years, 10 years later, is it so much fun when you don't have it and you can't afford it and you don't have any relationships in your life? And so, no, it wasn't fun while it was happening, but I came home in a much more grounded place.
I'm so floored by your description of prison. Like, it sounds like genuinely getting sentenced was a life-changing thing in a positive way for you. Like, it set you on a path that it doesn't sound like you would have gone on your own anytime soon.
Super grateful for that. I get a lot of people that reach out to me and they want to know what to do about addiction. They want to know what to do with their loved one. It's a lot of kids, a lot of adults that have kids who are my age or younger. They're saying, this person's struggling. You're doing so good now. What do I do? And the answer to me, for me, is like, I'm going to give you my opinion. This isn't rooted in a statistical analysis of all people who use drugs or all decisions. It's based on my experience. And if the person you love gets arrested, bailing him out hasn't worked in my experience. It didn't work for me. I stayed in it and I healed. That worked for me. My brother got bailed out and he died. So I'm going to tell you not to bail him out. You can take his phone call. You can support him. You can help him with the transition plan when he comes home to get him into the right type of treatment somewhere out of that environment that sent him there. Bond him out and do the same thing that's not working. No. So going to prison not only like gave me an opportunity to get well, it gave me an opportunity to help people in this unique way because I don't think that it's common for people to say like, yeah, if they get in trouble, like let them sit for a while. Maybe and there's a lot of varying opinions on this of I don't really like the thought of people losing their freedom at all. I just know that that's what worked for me. And so I wish there was a more humane, controlled way to where, it's just encouraged not to leave because with rehab, it's too easy to leave.
Yep. Yeah, you can check yourself out.
In prison, it's too final.
Yep.
That was not a great, yeah. I'd like to think that people don't have to suffer that much to get well, but I did, and it worked for me. So 85% of guys, they'll go back the next 3 to 5 years. So only 15% of us don't reoffend in 5 years.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a scary statistic. And that's why, you get back to the 1 billion hugs movement of getting a billion people hugging more, getting a billion people wearing these symbols of hope. And you get enough resources to invest in a place like Appalachia that's the pinnacle, the apex of, addiction, substance use, just, social determinants of health going awry and young people feeling hopeless. And if you can invest enough resources into a place like that to help those people heal, like to me, that's a beautiful calling. And so it's all led me here. And so it was part of the path.
Why do you think it is that that region has so many addiction issues?
Yeah, I think it's a number of things. Transportation comes up a lot when we're talking about the recovery ecosystem. Like there are services and there are some jobs, people can't get to them.
Yep.
So maybe 100 years ago, you're pretty self-sustaining in your local community. But when things have kind of been industrialized and the avenues of income have changed, people can't necessarily make it to places where they can have a sustainable form of income. We've had limited um, industries, mainly coal, for the past 100 years. And so people come in from outside our state. They create this industry. They extract our natural resources. They employ some of our people, and then they leave when it's done. And so we don't have a ton to show for it. I think our political system is very broken. It's fucked. Let me say that. Our political system in West Virginia is fucked. I have a lot of friends who I love and care about deeply in politics, and things are not working. And so I was elected at the Board of Education. It was very clear to me that our Board of Education was not working in the way that I believe that it should. If we're 47th in the country and 10% of our kids are trying to take their lives, I understand our teachers are doing the best they can. I get that. But the best that we can is not good enough. We're going to have to do something different. And so what I found is everything that didn't seem to be working that we could make simple changes to, the answer was, oh, it's a part of state code. It's a part of state code. We can't do anything. We're bound by state code. So that means your legislators, people that run for state office, are the ones making decisions about education. Well, there's another problem. When it's an elected position that turns over every 2 years, You're always campaigning to get the elected position again. Do you really benefit from solving everything, or do you benefit from just pointing to whatever the biggest problem is and promising that you'll provide a solution and then framing and marketing yourself so you get elected? People have short memories. It's easy to manipulate people. You know,
Yeah.
people are emotional. Politics is a dangerous game, and I think West Virginia, we've been losing politically at large for a long time. I don't think that everybody in politics are losers. I don't think that's the case. I just think that the system itself is a little bit ineffective, and I think because of that, I mean, it's one of the reasons I've left and I struggle being there is because I see so many different problems in the community, and I can create solutions. Whether it's just a cleanup, whether it's a kids running program, whether it's offering consulting and coaching to those young people. I tried to build a playground in Parkersburg, West Virginia, and the mayor didn't say no, but he said I would build nothing of consequence in the neighborhood that I was trying to building in it. I tried to build in the most disadvantaged neighborhood, and that's where you have to invest. And he said, I wouldn't build anything of consequence there. People would just tear it up. Why don't you build it down at City Park or give the money to the Boys and Girls Club? And I'm like, it's that type of thinking to where we stand in the way of people who are trying to drive progress in a healthy way that runs people out of this. I mean, I was 28, 29 at the time. And if I would have been met with, that's an amazing idea, Reed. I think it's great that you want to do that. I appreciate you willing to be the leader at this and bring people together and invest those resources in this neighborhood. I'm sure the people in that neighborhood will be very grateful for that. How can I help? That's not the attitude. And I think that's a grave mistake. And that attitude is pretty prevailing across West Virginia. So I think our government system's in the way. I think transportation and people not being able to make it to those employment opportunities, I think our industry is limited. And I think there's a mindset challenge to where, I mean, in the weather too. I mean, in Southern California, you got sunshine over here. The depression rate's half of what it is in West Virginia. 15% diagnosed depression rate in California, 30% in West Virginia. And so if you think about that, there's this rule of, I think, sixes or something that your weight is impacted by people who are 6 degrees away from you. And so if you go along the relationships in your social network and you look at people's different body mass index, like yours is going to be related to it in some measurable way. And so if you're already in a place where people are more depressed, people make less money, people use more drugs, then you're going to be more likely to do that. And so we're kind of trapped in a way. And so I think that's why, I talk about Brad Smith a lot. He was the former CEO of Intuit, came out to Silicon Valley for 3 decades and built a career there. But he's from West Virginia, and he came back, and he's the president of Marshall University now, and he's making massive investments in the community, $50 million to make sure kids can graduate debt-free who are from West Virginia. He's rebuilding 4th Avenue, bringing advanced manufacturing in, recruiting people to move to West Virginia. And he's doing that with private resource. And he's choosing to stay in West Virginia. But without that private resource, like, what would that mean? Like, he wouldn't be able to come back and make the same type of impact. So that's why I feel really blessed to build a movement as large as 1 billion hugs, because I see how an investment, a resource, like, we don't have enough. We don't have enough money. We don't have enough talent. We don't have enough opportunity. We don't have enough education, and we need more. And there's not enough people on fire about helping West Virginia. There are people on fire about helping West Virginia. It's just not enough. It's a big lift. And there's lots of reasons. And when I talk about the mindset, a poverty mindset, a mindset of scarcity, a mindset of disbelief, a mindset that hasn't been unlocked to its full potential is just one that is, it struggles to grow. And so that's been refreshing since I've been out here in LA, as I see people who are open to their potential. And so I get excited to get on a platform like this because I want to tell people that, like, this is in store for you. You absolutely can build a YouTube channel to 1 million subscribers just because you love Call of Duty. You can absolutely become a motivational speaker and get paid $5,000 to tell kids at a high school that you love them. All you have to do is believe that you can and do it. Sure, it takes love, support, encouragement, persistence, learning, adaptability. You have those things in you. People have those things in them. And I think we're not told enough that we're capable of doing those things. And that's probably prevalent everywhere, not just West Virginia. And so, yeah, that's why I've become an encourager. I try and tell people, get out there and make it happen. You can do it. And I know it sounds simple, but there's not enough of that in the world.
Do you think that, like, as things progress, let's say 5 years from now, are those investments in West Virginia going to do enough to change the tide, or is there a lot more needed?
Yeah, it's a good question. We're at a precipice right now in West Virginia to where if these investments aren't capitalized on and rallied around, it could be a missed opportunity. There's a $30 billion transition of wealth happening in philanthropy. And so if the people in those spaces don't intentionally engage with that wealth to invest it in the right places, we could miss that opportunity. If Brad Smith's investment isn't respected in the right way and the community doesn't come together to do their part too, that could fade away. And if people don't step up, like a lot of the people I care about back in our communities and me to create our own streams of revenue to pour into that, the opportunity can definitely be missed. We need a lot more than what we have. I don't believe politics and the government is going to or even can solve it. We have to step up as a people. And so that's why I get so excited about being this poor kid from 16th Street that used to put dope up his nose and went to prison, lost his whole family, still wants to kill himself, and it can actually do something meaningful to show that change is possible. Because I need 1,000 me's up here in their own unique, beautiful, individual ways, talking about their transformation so they can show their communities that it's possible. And there's an inspiring and an encouraging amount of people who are growing in their own communities, who have just come home from prison, who are, going through their own healing privately, that are working in giving spaces and healing spaces, that are doing amazing work. And a lot of my work is, trying to network and spotlight those people. I do worry that if we're not careful in 5 years, it could end up being not enough. But I think things are trending upward, and I'm hopeful. So I actually, in the bathroom, was thinking,
Okay.
a really exciting thing that I want to know if you want to talk about.
Okay.
The mental health industry and friendship.
Okay. Fill me in.
Yeah. So have you ever gone to therapy?
I have. It's been a long time. I don't know. I think I personally didn't get a ton out of it, but I think it's more so because I didn't really want to talk about anything. Like I would go to therapy and I'd be like with my counselor, I'd be like, yo, you watch the Bears game? We just shoot the shit for an hour. Cause my therapy was all, it was mandated by the court when I was on probation when I was younger. So it was like, me and my therapist got along pretty well. She's like, hey man, let's talk about the Bears game for an hour and you can give me a positive note to give to my PO, my parents had put my mom is a therapist for a living. It's her whole she's a drug counselor. Ironically enough, she's always been. Before I ever started using, she was a drug counselor. So it's pretty ironic, growing up and having that in the house. Because my mom knew everything. She was so hip to everything. I couldn't hide shit from her. She would find everything. She knew when I was high. I was so fucked. But my mom would try to put me into counseling because she obviously believed in it very strongly. My dad was like, that's voodoo. That's some fucking sham, counseling's not real.
She does for a living.
Literally, yeah. But I mean, my parents divorced when I was very young and they hate each other. So my dad, listen, if my mom was a engineer, he would have been like, engineering's fake magic. It's voodoo, it's bullshit. So my dad pulled me out every time my mom would put me in. So I don't have a full therapy experience. I respect it for what it is. I just never really took it seriously when I was younger. I just checked the boxes.
What's your mom think of what you do now?
She's very supportive of it now. She, I think more than anything, it was hard for her because she would spend all day talking to other people about drug use, but then it's different when it's your son. Obviously I'm not going to sit there and tell my mom hey, well, you used your spoon to make crack a couple weeks ago, I'm not telling mom,
Did you use your spoon to make?
I did one time. Yeah.
How'd it turn out?
It was horrible. We actually, with the guy in the other room there, him and I did it together. Him and I did it together when we were in high school. It was horrible. We went online, we went on Arrowhead and we found some guide with a YouTube video attached, how to make a personal serving of crack. And it turns out you don't need a pot if you just want a little batch to hit with your homies. All you need is a spoon and a lighter and the rest of the supplies, So you just stir it up with a little needle and you're good to go. So that's the only time I ever smoked crack in my life, thankfully. It was that one day. I don't even, how do we get on this?
Well, we're at a good spot because what it sounds like is you've still got friends in your life that you've had since high school that you used to run around with back in the day.
For sure. Yep.
I mean, what role does that play in your health and sobriety now?
I mean, I think it's pretty valuable for me. I have a lot of friends that I think my friend group when we were younger, we were all the very early risers. We started getting high and started getting drunk way before all the other kids did in college. And I think I do have a ton of friends who never, they just fell off the wagon and never got back on. I have friends who've overdosed and died. I have friends who, as far as I'm aware, are still strung out in Philly right now somewhere. I don't really know. I have friends who have fallen off the wagon, but the friends that I really was closest with, a lot of them got their shit together and are like really successful adults now because I think in part they got that out of their system when they were younger. They learned those lessons when they were young enough for it to like not ruin their life yet. And then a lot of the friends that I had were like, you know, they didn't really dabble in anything beyond hitting our blunt or like taking a shot with us at a party, went to college and like fucked their life up. They started partying, got kicked out of school. Now they're, still back in school trying to make up for that. Whereas, having that kind of unity with my friends that I got fucked up with when I was younger, like, hey, we all just kind of, are clean now and we just might go get some drinks at the bar or something on a weekend. And that's kind of our thing. It's a valuable thing. I don't know if I would be in the position I'm in and as sober as I am now without seeing my friends in the same position. It's pretty valuable.
I'm grateful you have them. And I think life works out a lot differently for people when they don't have friends.
Mhm.
The mental health industry has been built for a lot of different reasons, but it's to serve people who are sick. And a lot of times, what you see in mental illness is people who need support.
Yep.
Therapy's taken like this interesting shape that it looks a lot of different ways depending on who your therapist is. You can hit it off with one therapist versus maybe not with another. You go to one for some kind of hypnotic therapy or EMDR, or the other one going to help you with trauma. Some of it's just talk therapy. So you really get a wide range of things through a therapist. Since I've been to over a dozen therapists, to me, it's like finding somebody that you mesh with, that's in the right season in their life, and you go and you open up about the things that you're struggling with or the gaps in your life you need to get clear on. But honestly, man, like those are some of the things that you do with friends too.
Yep.
I definitely have benefited from deep therapy before. So like, let me not undermine that.
Yep.
And I've also really benefited from just healthy friendships where you can be yourself around people you care about and just kind of see yourself as a mirror. I mean, that's what the hugs movement is about, is connection. And I think it's frankly kind of fucked up that we live in a world where you got to pay people money to be your friend.
Yep.
Because I feel like therapy can kind of be like that. I feel like we're missing friendships. I feel like
You're paying someone to care.
you're paying somebody to care.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel natural. Like I understand it is the way it is. No shame on therapists. Why aren't there more friends in the world? And so I'm really hopeful that, the movement of getting a billion people hugging will encourage people like, get out there and make friends. Get out there and be a friend. Go learn somebody's name. Is there a friend that you liked at one point in time that you haven't talked? Call that motherfucker. Call the homie. Be like, man, what have you been doing?
Yeah.
Find out about that person. That connection of like caring, not even like self-serving, but like, what is that person doing? I'm interested in that person's life. Way better than a doom scroll.
100%.
And so it's just been an interesting realization as somebody who's a mental health advocate, realizing that therapy has its limits and friendship isn't being leaned into enough. Friendship is, I think, more free in a lot of ways, arguably, than therapy is. And it's accessible. And we've gotten to this point, and I love that we have this service available, but I also hate that we live in a world where it's come to this. You can call a button on your phone and talk to a stranger like they're your friend or like they're your therapist. Like, why do we not just talk to each other?
Yeah.
How weird is that? I call 988 and I'm like, hey, I'm sad. Can you listen and share what's going on? And I can talk to them.
Is that like a hotline for?
It's the suicide hotline.
Oh, that's the
nationally.
number. Okay.
We got the number condensed. Logic did a song with Alessia Cara a few years ago. And
I remember hearing that. That was super viral.
Yeah, it was a great song. And they reduced it down from 10 numbers to 3. So it's instead of 911, it's 988. And I call that number still when I'm struggling. But it's like, what's wrong with me to where I don't have the right human being to call? I made a post the other day about like how I had struggled leaning into therapy back in 2025. And so sometimes I just call the hotline.
Yep.
And people were messaging me like, I call 988 too. I'm like, well, you can just fucking call me. Like, you can just call me. I don't care what kind of shit you're like. I do care.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to be a burden to me. I can find 20 minutes in a day to talk so you don't take your life. But instead, we're calling people that we don't know. So I like that we have it available. It's a great resource. I believe that it's keeping people here on this planet. But how did we get to a place where we've let friendships go and let this industrial economy of what mental health is take over? I don't know. It's just, it's confounded me. It's been a realization I've had. So.
Yeah, I think making friends after you get clean is probably one of the hardest things to do. Like I think it's really difficult to figure out what you even want to do for fun without drugs. I mean, when I got sober, even though I was getting stoned a lot, getting high doesn't give me the dopamine that doing a line does. It never will. And I mean, to this day, it just doesn't, and I think for me, it took years to figure out like how to feel dopamine in my brain again. Like, how do I enjoy something? And that made it hard for me to maintain friendships because I'd have people hit me up, especially like the first year after I stopped doing blow. I'd have people hit me up and be like, hey, you want to go do this? You want to go do that? And they were like my sober friends that had known I just stopped doing it. And I'm like, fuck no.
It's
Like, no,
exhausting, yeah.
dude. Like, oh, you want to go bowling? Fuck no, dude.
Bowling.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Like, sounds horrible, you know? And I just sat at home all day. And even the things that I previously enjoyed doing, like playing video games and like making YouTube videos, I just didn't like it, you know, and nothing was fun because everything I did was intertwined with doing a line in between, you know, like dude, me and my friend, we would be in the drive through at like a restaurant, all getting drinks. And it'd be like, all right, let's see how many bumps we can do before the next window. Like we just paid, like, let's like go rail a bunch and then we'll get up to the window to grab our drinks and we're good to go, you know? So it was so like everything was intertwined with getting high for me. So like friendships were really fucking hard. And like the friends I have now look very different than they did like 5 or 6 years ago. And one of the hardest parts too is like, dude, when you get sober, a lot of those people that you hang out with when you were using, like they're not your homies.
Not in the way that you felt like or the way that you need.
Yeah. Like they're really just not, they're just there to get high with you.
Yeah, you got the memories with them.
Yeah.
You felt like you had something with them, but you realize they can't help you get where you're going.
It's one of the hardest parts when you like you get clean and you reunite with someone you used to hang out with when you're using and you're sitting there hanging out with them and you're like, I don't even know if I like this guy.
You ever get nauseous? Like going around, and it can be a place too, but around somebody you have a past with and realizing like, oh, I'm not the person I was when we were together. This person's kind of the same, and like I'm not supposed to be here.
I get nauseous going into it. Like before I see them,
Yeah.
I'll always be like really nauseous. But like in the moment, even if what I was nauseous about happening actually happens, I like don't. It's out of my system.
Yeah.
Just that preemptive, like, oh fuck.
It's an interesting reaction. I think it's a sign or a signal. Because ideally, relationships are something that should energize you, right? You should get excited about going and seeing somebody.
Yep.
Oh, what are you excited about with your sobriety? You know, what's been on your mind with your growth and your journey? You know, we've got to 1 million subscribers. I told you we're on a mission to get 1 billion hugs. I mean, we've talked about kind of your audience and what you hope they gain. You know, we're giving them a little different perspective today, but where's the goblin headed? What's up for 2026 for you?
A lot more podcasts, dude. I mean, this has honestly been the busiest year of my life. Like I've never done more than I did in 2025. And we're definitely not planning to slow down with that. You know, I mean, I film a lot every week. We do a lot of work here, you know, so I'm just kind of excited to keep myself busy. I feel like, you know, for a few years, I didn't really do shit all day. Like my first 2 to 3 years in sobriety, I did nothing. I didn't have this podcast yet. I didn't like this YouTube thing was not serious for me. It paid my bills, but like my bills weren't much because I didn't have anything. You know, it was like I paid my like $1,000 rent and like bought some weed, and that was, you know, that was my shebang. But now for the first time, I'm like really busy and finding that like I almost don't have time to do like my hobbies. Like I love just having a lazy day, just sitting around playing video games, you know, fucking around all day. But like I don't have time for that anymore, and I kind of like it. You know, I really, really like it. So I'm just kind of planning to keep that going. It's the first time I feel productive in my life. Like my whole life, I feel like I've just been the laziest, like just, I don't want to say worthless, but like my days were worthless. I've wasted a lot of time in my life, and it feels like I'm finally almost like recouping that, you know? So
It's good on you. I can tell, you know, I come from a similar place from 20 to 22. I just wasn't doing anything, man. And it was tough. I would look in the mirror sometimes and I would think about the kids I graduated high school with. I would think about the kid I was when I was a teenager in school and like how I was so promising and like a lot of the students looked up to me. And then I looked in the mirror and I put on all this weight and I just wasn't leaving the house and I was pale and I just was like, man, you know, everybody's probably ashamed of me right now. And so it's so rejuvenating to come home and like kind of find a niche and find what works. And like, by no way it's perfect, but I've been to the point plenty of times where I was so busy I couldn't really do the things I used to love to do. You can't really take an off day. And there's something to be said about finding something that you have to live for. So I'm curious, man, you know, you've had a handful of really powerhouse guests on this show so far. Like, do you have a number goal that you're shooting for in 2026? And it's been a great question. People have asked me if you could have like top 10 guests of anybody on the Gobcast in 2026, who would you pick? No limits, right?
I mean, I think my top 10 is hard. Top 10 is very hard, but I definitely want Bam Margera on the show. He is for sure like probably the top of my most wanted list. I'd love to have Steve-O. I find all the Jackass guys fascinating. Like their stories are just so interesting, and the way they've turned out, it's like, dude, if you go watch those old Jackass clips, it's like you don't expect any of those fucking guys to make it.
Do you remember when Bam got a Hot Wheels car stuck up his ass?
I do. Yeah, I do.
Iconic.
They used to put a lot of things up their asses, dude. Brandon told me about many things up his ass.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Brandon Novak told me he put a rock up his ass for $50 when they were, I don't remember. I think they were in France or something.
I ain't gay, but $50 is $50.
$50, $50. Exactly. So, I mean, I definitely want Steve-O and Bam Margera on the show. Beyond that, this is more of a vague one, but I want to get more like federal agents. I had one FBI agent on the show, and it's even outside of podcasting, just one of the most interesting conversations I've probably ever had in my life. So I want to do more of that.
Okay.
It's just very hard to convince a federal agent to come on this show.
Yeah, it's probably not good for the career. I don't know.
Yeah.
Depends what they're doing.
We had to get a retired one.
Do you know Chris Voss?
That sounds very familiar.
He's the negotiation expert. He's spent years in hostage negotiation.
Is he the dude with the curly hair? Or am I thinking of someone else?
I think he has short hair, but he's really calm and calculated. He gives great advice around negotiation, but he would be a good one. And I say this because he's got his own personal brand now.
Mhm.
He's branched out from, I think, doing agency work to where he's got his own personal brand, so exposure would be good for him.
There's a benefit for him to come on here.
Yeah, his content's great. I think your viewers would love him.
Sick. Hell yeah. What do you got planned for this upcoming year?
Goodness. Well, figuring out how long I'm going to spend in LA because I'm liking it out here. Cali's got
I
the
can tell
perfect
you're
vibe.
liking it.
Dude, it's perfect. And so, spend it ideally at least a few months out here. Maybe I'll stay longer. We're really building 1 billion hugs. We've got some hug hustlers, which are our brand ambassadors. And so we're trying to engage them to get out there and wear the gear and give more hugs. So I'll be recruiting more hug hustlers. We worked on getting into retail and found out that that's not super profitable. So readjusting.
What do you mean by
sales
the
there.
retail side? Like what are you selling?
Smaller scale or apparel, shirts.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Doing our shirts.
I was imagining you just got a little sign like $2 for a hug. Like
No, so we were gonna do an expo in Louisville for Christmas, and the guy called me. He's like, "What are you selling?" I was like, "Well, we've got, we're a apparel company. We've got shirts." He's like, "You're not gonna be giving hugs, are you?" I'm like, "Well, it's an invitation, not an expectation. Consent only." He's like, "Well, if I get any complaints, you'll have to go." I'm like, no, it's not a hug mob.
you should be walking around grabbing people.
Yeah, we're not just abducting people. But we do promote connection, and so probably find some more events to go to get the
Nice.
shirts out there. But really, man, just putting on the gear, getting out, and whether it's Santa Monica, Venice, down at Long Beach, and giving people hugs. Probably get a little more active on social media with the hug moments. I dislike that because I want them to be kind of candid moments of connection.
Mhm.
But I understand that, and there are people on social media that already do the free hugs. So we'll have to get more active on social media with the actual hugging. But yeah, promoting on social media, going on other shows, get the message out there, working on my health. I'm getting over knee surgery. I'm a tennis player, so that's
Nice.
a big hobby of mine.
Tennis is fun. I'm horrible, but it's fun.
You ever play pickleball?
I have. Pickleball is a blast.
Yeah, it's much easier than tennis.
Yep. I used to love badminton a lot.
Badminton's sweet.
Badminton's awesome.
I had to leave my badminton stuff behind because I moved out here with just 2 suitcases. I couldn't take the badminton stuff, not enough room. What else is in store for me? Yeah, just kind of seeing what God reveals, man. I just lean into the good things that he shows, do my best, and things keep happening. I wish people could understand how simple it is. Something that shows up that interests you, that's good, you go, you do it, you learn, and you do it again, and life really just opens up. And so I couldn't have told you 5 years ago that I would be sitting here.
Yep.
Couldn't have told you 2 years. When I started my business, as a motivational speaker, I couldn't have told you that I wouldn't end up in the places I've ended up. $5,000 to tell the kids that I love them? That's ridiculous to me. And so here we are. And so my goal is to get 1 billion people, not just hugging, but to feel like they have a reason to stay. That's one of our messages at 1 billion hugs is creating 1 billion reasons to stay. And suicide prevention, a lot of the training is around keeping people alive. Don't kill yourself. If you want to kill yourself, please don't. If you have a plan, let me keep you safe and get you into the right place so you don't.
Yep.
And so, I'm safe talk and assist trained and certified. So I'm capable of keeping people safe. And I appreciate people who take the time to make sure other people are safe and keep them on this. I appreciate that. When I've been invited to speak about my experience with suicide loss, suicide prevention, that's not what stands out to me. What stands out to me is this prevailing desire to die all the time because life is hard and life is suffering. And so I used drugs for a long time to escape from that. Now I don't use drugs and life's still suffering and hard. And so some days my brain is just like, you could just kill yourself and that would be the preferred pathway. And I'm like, yeah, it could. Some days it's more lucrative than others. I didn't ask to be born. I don't believe I asked to be like this. This is just the way I am. And so as I thought about that, it's like, why are people critical of people who experience suicide? Like, what gives you the right to say that I should live? Like, neither of us asked to be here. I didn't consult with you like, hey, do I have to stay alive if I'm alive? I'm just here. And as I thought about that, I'm just thinking, why don't we make a world where people suffer less and where people want to stay? And that can be suicide prevention. Instead of trying to convince you, why don't I just make it better so you're like, oh, this is awesome. I love this place. This is so good. Why would I ever want to leave? And so that's our goal, is to create a billion reasons to stay, a world where people have opportunity, where people feel loved and encouraged and seen, and have opportunities for connection and friendship to where they don't have to call a hotline or call therapy. And so just, I was talking to ChatGPT. Really, it just gave me my year in recap. I don't know if you use it as a tool. It's a great tool. And one of the things it said, your brand will grow when you start living it and stop trying to make it grow. And, since I launched it, I've kind of felt that, like, all right, what are the steps I need to do to grow this movement? Because I'm pretty tactile when it comes to political campaigns or marketing my business and stuff. It's like, maybe you should just get out there and talk to people and hug on people and connect with people and make them feel seen, and the rest will reveal itself. And so I'm trusting in that. Also, there's 2 hobbies I picked up in 2025 that are super cool. I went paramotoring took my first paramotoring lesson.
Fun.
Dude, 15 grand, you can get a wing and a kite and be flying wherever you want to go. 15 grand.
That sounds fun.
Yeah. Well, when I buy one and I get certified to fly, you don't even have to get certified. When I learn how to fly, we'll have to go. You can do tandem. Be Gob and Reed up in the sky.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
You said the helicopter earlier.
Dude, I would never get in a helicopter. I would do the paramotoring probably, because I don't know why. I feel a little better about that, because I'm like not that high over the water, you know, like realistically, worst case scenario is I just get injured. Helicopters scare the living shit out of me.
Big piece of equipment.
And dude, I mean, like one rotor fails and you're just fucked.
I mean, the Black Mama couldn't make it out. What makes it?
Yeah, I know. I'm good on that, dude.
No, thanks.
I'm good on that. You know what came to my mind when you were talking about the movement you're starting in social media? You should just do like a series on TikTok or Instagram Reels where you just hug someone every day, just a random person.
And I want to do that. The problem is I have an Android and I need somebody to come with me to document it. So it's like, I just need to figure out. I've never gone out and filmed like that before. I've never done a bunch of videos.
Perfect place to start doing it.
Yeah. I just need to put it on Fiverr or TaskRabbit and be like, hey, will you come record me hug people today? Hey, it could be 20 minutes, right?
Offer someone a hug to record for you.
Ooh, well, then it wouldn't be free. I always say the shirts are $34, the hugs are free.
Just hug with no strings attached first, and then after the hug, you kindly ask.
That's so funny, because people will hug me, and I'll be like, of course you can hug me. And I'll be like, could you do me a favor, though? And I'll pull out my little business card, and I'll be like, could you scan that for me? Would you please follow us on social media?
There you go. Still free.
Can't say no. It's free.
Still free. Show that to the camera.
What? Ooh.
Show this is the tight camera right here.
Boom. So this is a logo. You know how Nike's a performance brand?
Yeah.
Okay, this is a social impact brand. And you're going to recognize this as, the most impactful social impact brand that you've ever seen. It means love, caring, connection, kindness. And instead of the Nike swoosh, you're going to see 1 billion hugs. But on the back, it says, I love you. And there's a QR code. I wonder if that's going to work on camera to scan. That'll be interesting.
It should, yeah.
That'll be so cool.
Yeah, we can throw the QR on.
But yeah, it's my business code and it's metal. So yeah, it's creative.
Nice. Yeah, it sounds like a hefty card when you put it down.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I neglected to ask earlier, you've talked a lot about your political campaign when you ran, how that was difficult, but what did you actually run for?
Yeah, I ran for the Cabell County Board of Education. So West Virginia has 55 counties, and each county has a Board of Education, which is 5 members who are fiduciaries, meaning they manage the finances, vote on personnel, hire and fire the superintendent for that county. And so I had served on like 10 different boards of directors for nonprofits as a volunteer. Like I said, I ran for city council in 2021 as a write-in, and I narrowly lost that election. And my friends who are in politics are like, dude, you've got a future in politics if you want it. And I'm like, well, I'm kind of glad that I lost the election, because I don't think the people here on city council wanted my help anyways. Well, I got recruited to help a governor with his campaign. Well, a governor's campaign anyways. And I kept seeing signs of I can make a difference in that space. I wanted to help young people. I wanted to help families. I wanted to help the community be healthier. And I just took a jump and ran for on the ballot this time, the Board of Education. And it was one of the most just educational and transformative experiences of my life, because you talk about being busy from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. I don't know, for 4 months. There may have been like 4 or 5 days where there's probably 1 or 2 days where I had to take off because I was so burnt out. And the other days I may have taken some windows for leisure. But, over 100 days straight, you're working 12, 14 hours a day. You wake up in the morning, you're texting, calling people, asking them to support your campaign, which is hard to ask people that you love and care about for money. But it's like, well, if they believe in me, then they'll give to this or they'll say no.
Mhm.
And so you're spending a couple hours asking people for money for the campaign. And then you're going to breakfasts or lunches or lunch and learns or different events in the morning. You're reaching out to community stakeholders, whether it's people on council or people in the community that are involved in politics. You're getting to know them. And then you're going from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. or 8 p.m. until it's dark out and you can't talk anymore. You're knocking on people's doors. Hey, it's Reed Byers, running for the board of education. Wanted to introduce myself, see if there's anything you wanted to talk about. Knocked on 4,500 doors in my life. It's the best education you can get, I believe, especially on human psychology. And what I learned, Nick, is that people have really been influenced by the national media.
Mhm.
You can clearly see where people get their narrative. I can clearly see if people watch CNN or Fox News primarily. I can clearly see, how people form their perspectives. It wasn't always like that. It came through a ton of questioning. I'm not there to convince you that I'm right. I'm not even there to convince you that I'm the best person. I just want to get to know you and learn about who you are and where you've come from and why you believe what you believe.
Yeah.
You probably know something that I don't. And what I learned is that people generally want the same thing. We want freedom, peace, prosperity, health, opportunity, our kids to be safe. It just looks different on how we think that we were supposed to get there. And the problem lies in when we get into these really divisive, really tribal narratives of, oh, okay, well, if I'm a Democrat and you're a Republican, then we can't work together because there's a fundamental difference to where what I believe, or what you believe infringes on what I believe is right and okay.
Yeah.
And it's really fallible reasoning. It's really flawed thinking. It's really harmful. And it was also hopeful, realizing that humans at their core are just good people who want the same things. But yeah, knocked on 4,500 doors. Ended up as a lot of doors over those 2 campaigns. But I made a lot of friends, met a lot of good people, got into some interesting altercations. One time I about got in a fist fight with a guy. He cussed at me, so I cussed back, and I thought I was going to lose the campaign because I'm like, surely you can't get into altercations with people at their doorsteps and get elected. And then I realized I was wrong. He was asking me about the pride flag over at the elementary school. He's like, what are you going to do with that pride flag over there? I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, I don't even know. Is there really a pride flag there? I'm like, I don't know. I got to figure out why it's there and what it's doing there. And like, what that's not what I'm campaigning on, dude. I'm campaigning to make sure that kids don't take their lives, not like to burn flags. I asked him. I said, I'm trying to keep politics out of the schools, what I told him. He said, well, the schools are political, dumbass. And I'm like, hey, fuck you. You're not going to cuss at me. And I was like, I bet you I can tell you what news channel you watch. I was like, you watch Fox News? He's like, yeah. And so I'm taking off to try and avoid the conflict. He's like, I'm telling all my friends that they're not going to vote for you, not to vote for you. And so I come back. And anyways, yeah, it was bad. It was bad. I remember driving off that day. I called one of my political advisors and I said, hey, I think I just lost the election. He's like, why? What happened? I was like, I was cussing at this dude on his doorstep out to fight him. He's cussing at me. And he said, Reed, I think one of your biggest flaws is that you forget that you're human. He's like, go home, take a rest, and get back after it today or tomorrow. And I'm like, that really says something. Here I am thinking that people in office are authority and they're perfect and they're educated. And here I am fucking broken, half my family's dead, been to prison, been hospitalized, take psych meds, don't have a college degree, getting in altercations with people based on just being a decent human.
Yeah.
And it proved out that I could still get elected. The people of Cabell County, they wanted somebody who was real. They wanted somebody who knew what it's like to go through the things that our families are actually facing. And they wanted somebody who's not afraid to talk about it. I had plenty of people tell me that, people say that what you talk about makes them feel uncomfortable. No shit.
Mhm.
It's been an uncomfortable life. It's uncomfortable to watch people fucking die. I wish that it weren't this way. Us not talking about isn't fixing the problem.
It's important to talk about it.
We're going to have to do something about it, or we can just sweep it under the rug and everybody can keep dying and you can be a part of the problem. So, I've been the catalyst for those conversations, and part of me feels bad for having moved on and moved away out of that community, because I definitely saw the impact in some of those families who were dealing with their kids who were really struggling and needed the support. And I'm like, man, I was able to give those families a voice. I was able to vote no on those suspensions and expulsions because we're expelling kids for having vapes. Where'd they get the vapes at? The vape shop down the street that we allowed to set up shop in our community. Whose fault is that? Is it the 16-year-old's fault, or is it our mayor and our city council or our economic development team? Who's allowing this stuff to happen? And so, I would stand up and make those decisions in the interest of kids who I feel like had been unseen or left behind, and it made a big difference. It was a cool opportunity, but I'll be honest, man, I'm not a politician. That's not me. That's not my vibe. I've never cared about politics. I don't want to argue. We can get along. We can agree to disagree. Like, my opinion isn't that important. Just be decent.
That's very unpolitical of you.
Imagine, yeah. And some people want to turn you being apolitical or nonpartisan into being wrong too. It's like, well, you don't give a shit if you don't pick a side. And it's like, I just ran for office twice. Have served on every board that I can in God's creation.
You're doing one there.
Shut the up. Keep your politics away from me, dude.
Yeah.
Show up and do the work, fix it, take care of yourself, clean your room in your corner of the world, and keep your mouth shut. And that's not what politics is about. Politics is about power, interest, influence, these things that I don't believe God has called us to thrive inside. Man, I remember swearing into office and sitting at that table, and you had your name plates and stuff, and they give you your badge where you can swipe in and out of the school, and they give you your free pass to the game. And it was cool to get all the perks, and people, oh, that's my friend on the board of education. They're so quick with the perks. They're so quick with, here's what you get. But they're so quick with, we can't do anything because of state code. We can't do this because of this. We can't do this. I came for the change and helping the kids. I don't give a about that nameplate. I don't care about the free admission. I'll give the $5 to the football team. They need it. I want to make sure that the kids have what they need. And the fact that the legislature and the government was in the way of that in a lot of ways, not that they weren't trying to help, okay? And this all, I always got the answer of, well, it's always for the kids. Is it though? Always for the kids, 1 in 10? I don't know. So I'm very grateful to have learned from that. It's weird, dude. It's weird to think that I went from prison to politics. Who does that? I was going to be a truck driver. I was helping kids with mental health and addiction. I was running in a shark costume, raising money for charity. I was training to do 24,000 jumping jacks in 24 hours. I was just trying to pick up trash on the ground. And here I am sitting as a board member on this board, learning about the corrupt nature of our systems and how they don't work, and realizing I don't got the energy to change that system. But if you can create a movement outside of that that's big enough to where you can invest and divert the resources to your community in a meaningful way, that's cool. So here we are.
Wow. Well, I mean, I gotta say, it sounds like you got a lot coming up next year. It sounds like you got a lot of work to put in.
It's a big year.
You got a few billion hugs to give, at least 1 billion, and you got some work to do on the Board of Education.
Well, the board's gonna work it out because I resigned back in November, so
okay.
I'm no longer an elected official. Yeah, congrats. Yeah, thanks. And again, no,
I mean, it sounds like you're more interested in the movement.
A lot of people. If I was, a lot of people, if they listen to this deeply, will probably be mad at me for cussing as much as I have. But frankly, I love you guys, but this is who I am. I got redneck and hillbilly bone in me. I grew up around it. I sure can watch my mouth if I have to or want to or need to. This show isn't about watching my mouth. This show's about being who I am. And I felt like being in politics, I had to be less of who I was. And that's not what people need. People need somebody who's going to stand up and say the fucking truth. We don't have enough of that. So got plenty of work speaking my truth. And I can keep my mouth shut while I'm hugging. I don't have to say a damn word. I have to vote on nothing. I'll vote by giving hugs.
There you go. Well, for everyone at home watching right now who is intrigued and wants to follow you or support your movement, where can they find you at?
Yep. I'm super active on Facebook, working on transitioning to Instagram. I realize that's where the real world lives. So I've got an Instagram. It's Reed Byers on Facebook, Reed Byers 24K on Instagram, 1 billion hugs. We've got pages on Facebook and Instagram too. It's just number 1 billion hugs, blam, blam. And then I've got a website, reedbyers.com. And then our shirts are available at 1billionhugs.com. We would love to have people invest in the merch, support the movement. And if not, at least get out there and do something kind for somebody. If folks are looking for a speaker for whether it's a school, I promise not to cuss on stage, a conference, a guest appearance, I'm available to come speak. And other than that, just trying to get more people hugging, create a more connected world, give people a reason to stay.
Nice. Well, I got to say, I mean, First and foremost, I think what you're doing is dope, and I wish you the best of luck in this upcoming new year. I think you're going to kill it by the sounds of it. And also, this has been an incredibly great episode. I've had a blast chatting with you today, and it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show.
Dude, I'm so glad we finally made it happen. Thanks for reaching out after I did that interview last year. I knew that there was a lot of promise and stuff for us to uncover here.
Yeah.
And it's been a killer conversation. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's been a banger. And for all you guys watching at home, thank you as well for tuning in and supporting the show as always. We greatly appreciate it. Don't forget to go support Reed and 1 Billion Hugs. All of those links will be below in the pinned comment. All you got to do is scroll down and click them. Thank you all for tuning in. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you guys in episode 95. Deuces.
I don't know what you know about politics, but people will definitely smear you. And so one of the smears they came up with was Reed was selling meth to 2 to 12-year-olds out of the back of an ice cream truck.
Some little tweaker
Like
4-year-olds running
you're
out.
a predator and a drug
Mom,
dealer.
I need a dime bag.
My brother grabbed the gun off the hood of the car, shot the guy in the stomach, and then bailed out. What do you mean shots firing? Like, there was a law enforcement situation. He's like, nah, bro, your brother was out the passenger side of my car, like shooting at his ops. And Chaos's story is he was doing maybe like 9 or 12 years, and he had gotten away with this crime. He blew apart the guy who molested his niece at the bar one night with a 12 gauge, and he got away with it. And I started collecting them. I mean, on the streets, you end up with a lot of guns. People were like, hey, do you want this shotgun for a point of dope? Like, sure, okay. So I would have sometimes like 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 guns in this van. 30 minutes later, the task force shows up.
No.
Yeah.